Yo, hello. What's up, people? Hello, hello, hello. Hey, it's Eisenwolf, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so was your channel deleted by any chance?
No.
Oh, well then, Rational Outlaw, you gotta fix the link in the description below. And when you uploaded your collaboration video, I was like, oh no, because every time I see shit like that, I'm like, oh geez, am I next?
Yeah, no. I mean, last I checked, I haven't been on my channel today, but it should still be there.
All right, it's good. So, yo,
Yep, still here.
yeah, but we ain't live at the time for the time being, right?
I don't think. Oh wait, no, it says live. Well, maybe it just means it can go. I don't know.
I don't know, whatever.
I don't know where Rational is. I don't know where everybody else is either.
I'm gonna go to his channel just to check that out.
All right.
So, Wolf, how are you? Hello? Hello?
Wait, who's talking now?
Yo?
Oh, you? Okay.
How are you? Yeah.
Oh, he's having mic troubles.
We are live.
Maybe.
I'm just gonna mute myself for a bit, okay?
Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Ah, fucking yes.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep, I can hear you.
Thank God. Oh my, I had to go to the controls on this thing. I thought it was my, I don't know, my computer, but I don't know. I have no idea what it was. It just, I fixed it now. Anyways, hallelujah.
All right. So I completely forgot what we were talking about on the stream.
Well, I was thinking discuss about well, two major topics is the Catalonia event and the Las Vegas shooting.
Actually, I got one more thing I'd like to bring up.
Yeah,
What day was the shooting on for Las Vegas?
it was yesterday night, I believe.
I think Canada had a terrorist attack on Saturday.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, I know that Saturday, I think it was Friday or Saturday, Paris had, or not Paris specifically, but France had 2 terrorist attacks.
Oh fuck, man. Yeah, is this any surprise? All this shit's happening at the same time. Well, here's the thing. The fucking the nigga that was caught in the Las Vegas, that was an old white dude. So it's either gonna be somebody who killed bunch of motherfuckers because he was insane, he wanted to be remembered, or he got probably converted to fucking Islam.
Or if you're an ANCAP, you believe it's the government.
Yeah. The religion of government.
Yeah, seriously, like I saw some tweets by Hoodie Demon and Anna Kubal, and they automatically say that don't throw out that the possibility the government was behind it. Like, the government is not going to be behind every single conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, like, the only thing the government would have to gain from this is they get to push the whole, take away guns again. But, like, I mean, it's even something as tragic as this, it's not going to make every state just suddenly take away guns. It's like that wouldn't happen. So,
Told you,
Well,
even if that was the government, how would that accomplish anything? Like, it's nowhere near as big enough event to convince that many people to get rid of our gun rights.
yeah, especially because it was fully automatic, which means that there is a 90-some% chance that it was illegally obtained or illegally altered. Like, only there's like a couple thousand guns that are still in rotation that were owned prior to 1986 with that, whatever that act was called. I forgot the name off the top of my head, where they essentially banned fully automatic weapons. So a crime was committed in the obtaining of that gun. So gun laws won't stop what happens.
mind if I just give my thoughts on the gun control thing?
Go ahead.
Are you guys pro-gun, anti-gun?
I'm pro-gun.
Yeah, I'm pro gun as well.
To what
As far
level?
as the United
Pistols, rifles, assault rifles? Like, do you have any limitations?
I think that there are practical limitations, but as far as the Second Amendment is concerned, technically civilians should be allowed to own, battle cruisers and tanks. Technically speaking.
Yes, technically.
Well,
Obviously, I don't want a citizen owning a nuke like some ANCAPs say they want citizens. Absolutely stupid.
my mind is, I have no issues with you wanting to own a rifle. Pistols are the majority of shootings, so even if you probably total up all the killings that just happened tonight, and all the killings that will happen with rifles, like assault rifles, throughout the entire year, it probably will not uh, top the body. It probably will not have the same kill count as pistols. And second thing is, overall, I'm not sure where I stand on with open carry, although I don't have hugely positive feelings towards it. But I don't mind people owning rifles in their own homes. But every time one of these mass shootings, there's a whole nebula of thought inside my mind, and I honestly don't know what to think because I live in Canada, and here there's a saying in my local area: gangsters bring knives, wannabe gangsters or wanksters, nobody get triggered, bring guns. And the reason being is because it's easier to get your hands on a knife in Canada than it is a gun. And I know for a matter of fact, gun control to some extent will force criminals just to use other weapons. But like what happened in Edmonton is a guy ran over a cop, stabbed him a few times, and the cop somehow fucking survived. Apparently, I heard. I need to look into that. When I hear a cop gets ran over and stabbed like multiple times, I'm assuming the cop's dead. You know what I mean? And Oh, whoa, sorry.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, so I live in a country where there's less guns. We do have people that own guns, but it's regulated, and we have a gun culture, kind of like the States, just not as much. And actually, I think we have, per instance, I think we have just as much guns, but a lot of them are kept on firing ranges. Anyways, I'm rambling. What a part of me keeps thinking to myself is if the more we take away somebody's individual liberty to defend themselves, what's going to happen when people are put in a position where they do need to defend themselves, like in Europe? At the same time, it's basically what is the cost and what is the benefits? You know what I mean? And a part of me in my mind thinks it's nihilistically almost the same because guns stop a lot of killings. You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, or you don't know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
It's like no matter what you do, there will be a negative fallout.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is if you look at the UK, like guns aren't necessarily 100% banned. No, but it is extremely difficult to own any kind of, like actual gun. Like you can own very, very, um, I don't want to say inefficient, but like literally you put one in the chamber and then you bolt. It's just the bolt action one in the chamber kind of rifle, and then like very, very, very strict regulations on certain kinds of handguns, and they still have shootings. And then even then they say, well, you know what? Restricting guns wasn't enough. Let's now make it so that if you have a butter knife on you, you can go to jail.
Yeah, but you
And
know what?
you
Hold
can't
on.
ban
Oh, sorry.
everything.
The issue I have with that is America would never turn into that. Like realistically, America would turn into something a little bit more like Canada, where people do have pistols. People do it like absolute worst. You'd have rifles. Um, but yeah, I don't think Britain's a fair example because realistically, because of the First Amendment, Second Amendment, I don't think America would ever transform into that. I think it would transform it more into like a country like more like Switzerland or maybe a country more like Canada, where we do have guns. Actually, I think Switzerland's way more pro-gun though.
Yeah, like literally everybody has one.
Well, okay, this is why I'm very big. Why I think everyone should have mandatory service in the military. So everybody like support service. So you're not going abroad killing people. It
Mhm.
not only would it force community, but it also force people to be trained on how to use a gun, and then it also be trained people on how to respond to police officers. It would prevent shootings like the Castile shooting. You know what I mean? If everybody was trained by the military on how to use a gun, on regulation, it would become cultural common sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That might work for like smaller countries like Switzerland, but I don't think it would work very well for like the United States since we have such a large population.
Hey man, just make it law so everyone has to volunteer for like 3 months in the military support service.
I mean, I've always thought that a country that has mandatory service, I've always agreed with that because it doesn't necessarily mean you serve on the front lines or you serve in direct combat service. It just means like you go into the military, you get basic, essentially self-defense training. You know how to handle a weapon, de-escalation skills. You learn a lot of stuff that really helps in a dangerous situation like that. And everybody comes out a better person, more or less. Now, it's when you serve actual combat that then things start happening, like people get PTSD and people get stressed out and people come back dismembered. That's not necessarily the same thing.
And on top of that, like if I was in the army, I would want people that want to be on the battlefield, not a bunch of people that are, just forced to be there.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are going to run away in the eyes of combat. But yeah, it's just my opinion. But anyways, but what my point is why I don't like the comparison in the UK is because you would never turn into that realistically. The United States, realistically, in my opinion, would turn into something more like Canada. And it just I can't help but feel like no matter what you do, there will be bodies either way. But it's hard to tell which one will have like less of a body count. if you look up I think the top 10 most peaceful countries in the world. I'll do that right now. Top 10 most peaceful.
I'm pretty sure Switzerland is probably on there because they don't get involved in pretty much anything.
But like most of the countries have gun control, the most peaceful countries in the world. But there are countries like Switzerland that are like freaking number 2. Like it's way up there. Actually, if anything, Iceland would be the most peaceful country in the world.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, Iceland, the Nordic countries are really freaking peaceful. But all I'm saying is, it is possible to have guns, to have an armed population, and have a peaceful country. But I would be lying to myself if I said that the majority of countries that are peaceful don't have gun control, because the majority of peaceful countries in the world do have gun control. So there's always this epic battle in my mind of what's right and what's wrong. As subjective as that is,
Yeah. Plus, there's always the like all the other factors into it, like its location, its economic policies, its actual freedoms for its people, the trade industry, like how it does trade, how it its integration and its diversity and its religion, and like all of these things of these countries matter into that funnel of how safe is it. Like Japan doesn't have any guns at all, but they're also 97% homogenous.
But there's
inclusion, like they're very, very secluded on that little island.
But there's one thing to that. They do have guns. It's inspected yearly. You need a gun license, and the ammunition and the pistol have to be stored separately.
Yeah, I mean, like most places, like there's almost no such thing as no guns allowed at all. That's very, very rare in a country. Like you can't have a gun, you're not allowed. And as far as like first world countries go, the second and third world countries, they can do whatever they want because people are literally getting lynched in the streets in some of those places. So there's no rule of law.
One of the most retarded things that Japan has, you can't own a freaking katana. And that was also a second thing I want to bring. I wouldn't mind bringing this up. What about the idea of open carry for knives, or people being allowed to carry a blade on them?
I think that the restriction on blades is absolutely ridiculous.
But because when I think about it, I often think maybe a better, an easier solution to open carry on guns just alone is possibly an open carry on blades. Because if and you guys are Americans, so I'm from Canada, so I'm not talking about America alone, but I'm thinking in general, because worst comes to worst, somebody with a blade can only harm so many people close to them. But a lot of times, especially when people are mugging you, they're going to be up close and personal. And if you have a blade on you, you're probably more likely to stand a chance of defending yourself.
Or at least scaring them off, because it's like they come at you with a little tiny, pocket knife, and then you pull out, something that's like 8 to like 16 inches long, and they're going to be like, oh, sorry, never mind.
Yeah, well, but yeah, it's just a thought I have, because I think maybe it would be better if people could actually carry knives legally. That might be better, in my opinion.
I've always thought that people were generally safer and better off when they, everybody had a sword on their hilt, like it was just on their belt. There was just a sword, because they'd be like, I'm not a very skilled swordsman. I don't want to test it.
Yeah, it's like the issue I keep coming down to with guns is, yes, guns are having open carry gun, it prevents a lot of fucking mass shootings, a lot of mass killings. In fact, I think up in Calgary there was someone who was arrested for using a gun for preventing somebody from robbing old little granny's car. And that guy, I think, almost got charged, or did get charged. I can't remember. But the thing is guns save people too. And at least with swords, not only can you save people, but you can't completely mow down people with swords. You know what I mean? So it's a thought I keep coming back to, is which one what is the best opportunity for open carry? Because there's the old saying, a country should be scared of its citizens. A lot of Americans believe that, and if you believe that, that's fine. It's just the issue I keep coming back to is if all citizens are scared. I mean, sorry, if the government is scared, if the police are scared, what's to prevent more shit like what happened with Castile? Castile first. Do you know the facts about the Castile shooting?
Not right off the top of my head.
Okay, so I'll cover it really quick. So yeah, the guy was Hispanic. He might be like Hispanic European, like all white, but he light skinned Hispanic. That was a cop. There was a black guy and his girlfriend and the children in the car. So the black guy gets pulled over. His tail lights out. This guy's been arrested for speeding, for driving without license, but he has never had any violent criminal offenses. So this guy has been fairly clean. You know what I mean? Um, he just broke the law here and there with regulations, so it's not a huge deal. Um, so cop pulls him over, asks for his license. He gives him his license. Then he informs him that he has a gun. And then he said, okay. Then he starts reaching with hand in shape of a C. And he said, don't reach for your gun. And he's like, I'm not reaching for my gun. And he was reaching for his wallet. It was believed that he was reaching for his wallet. The cop got out his gun and started shooting him. And the thing is the cop hopped to the gun a little too quickly. But the thing is, the issue I have with open carry is certain scenarios like that. Like the reason why the cop said he shot him is one, he matched the description of somebody else, which the only things in common was braided hair. And number two is that he smelled weed in the car and he thought he was a drug dealer or some shit. So it's sort of the whole I guess I could call it weedophobia, but the issue I have with open carry is cops will be scared of the citizens, and the more scared the cops are, the more likely they are to hop the gun. And a part of me cannot blame the cop that shot Castile, but a part of me is happy that that cop is fired because he hopped the gun. You know what I mean?
He did. I mean, like the guy didn't have anything in his hand when he was shot. So like the fact that he was very allegedly slowly reaching for it, and the fact that he was saying, "I'm not reaching for a gun. I'm reaching for my wallet." The cop obviously was just. He was in the wrong. He was mistaken. He was way too jumpy. But
well, yeah.
I mean, like, it's.
But it could have been. Sorry.
I mean, it's not that. It's because he had a gun that issue happened. That was just that cop kind of sucked. And the guy could have. It's like I saw something that happened like maybe 2 months before the Castile issue, where some white teenager guy got out of his car. And the cop, you know, was pulled up behind him because it was a wreck, I think. And the cop pulled up behind, and the teenager instantly reached into his pocket to pull out his wallet, and the cop started shooting him. And like, it was like he actually shot him after the wallet was already exposed as a wallet. And it was just, you know, some like 17 to like 21-ish. I forget how old he was. Teenager guy. And like, he just got shot like 5 times.
Yeah, but but I'm just saying it's the issue why I keep grappling with open carry, why I keep grappling with gun control, is because you are safer owning your own guns in your house if you were to have an issue like Europe is right now. But at the same time, I live up in Canada and cops here have guns. They're not scared of us. So cops here are calmer. You know, I think a part of like all this cop shooting in the States, a part of it is due to like lack of training, but I think other part of it is due to the fact that they're scared. And I think that fear is completely justified almost. And when you're constantly around that environment as a cop, it can break you down mentally. But you know, I'm obviously, you know, any of the fucking shit that these cops have done is that there's no excuse for it, you know. There's no excuse for, you know, there's no excuse for killing an innocent man. But, you know, at the same time, the cop told him to stop. He didn't. It's the only reason why part of me's okay with the fact that that cop's not in jail. But anyways, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is I don't know what to do with guns. I don't know what to do. It's why part of me keeps coming back to the thought of, would it be better if everybody had knives? if everybody had a blade. But anyways, yeah. So in Canada, the guy that the terrorist was a Somalian terrorist, a
Oh,
refugee, and apparently he's being slammed with non-terrorist charges for attempted murder. We actually had a right-wing extremist, and there was an article saying that he might not be charged with. Can't remember if he was charged with it, but it's a way the media spins it. Is he was only going to be charged with murdering 9 people. Went to a mosque, shot 9 people to death, injured 19. But it's I really hate when the media likes to downplay this shit. You know what I mean?
well, it's the same thing with just last week, last Sunday, I believe, when Emmanuel Sampson went and shot a church. Like he went to a white church on purpose. He was from Sudan, and he was legal. He was a legal immigrant, but he was a black guy. He was from Sudan, and he shot a church. He shot up a church. He killed 1 person, injured 9 others. But he was stopped by another guy that legally had a gun. And so, like, the media didn't talk about that at all. Like, it was mentioned for like half of a day. They were just like, "Oh, by the way, there was a shooting in Tennessee. Bye." And like, they didn't talk about how it was essentially a huge hate crime. He specifically wanted to kill white people because
Okay.
white people, and like,
Okay.
it's the same thing as like Dylan Roof. It was just reversed. It was the exact same thing.
What was
But
Dylan Roof?
Dylan
Was
Roof is,
that
like the Satan of Satans in this country. And this guy, no one knows his name.
so? Who's Dylan Roof? Was that when the white dude was shooting the black people in the church?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's horrible. Yeah, you see, like, you know, I don't know if the same thing. If I got shot by a white guy in a church, I would just hope that my nation doesn't become consumed personal prejudice. But the thing is I don't know, man. That's some pretty fucking horrible shit. But yeah, the media never covers when guns do save somebody. But the other thing is, what do you think motivated this person? If you had to take a guess, this old man, do you think? Part of me thinks he just wanted to be remembered.
I'm not sure. I'm actually I'm halfway through editing a video right now talking about it, but like I went through everything about him. He has no clear motives to anybody that did not know him personally. And even then, like people that were pretty nosy about knowing him personally, because he has no serious political affiliations. He's not religious pretty much at all. Like he doesn't care about Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, nothing. He doesn't seem to have any posts specifically for or against Trump or Hillary or Bernie Sanders. He like not he wasn't poor. He was rich. He was very wealthy. He didn't even have a history of mental illness or like a drug problem. Nothing.
So, how did he make his money by any chance?
How did he do what?
How did he make his business?
He was in real estate.
All right, Rational. Are we talking too much for you? Do you got something to say?
Oh, no, I agree.
All right. Well, yeah. It looks like to me it's some old dude that just wanted to be remembered, or he either radicalized and hasn't told anybody about anything.
Also,
And there is a very slight possibility he was a radical right or leftist. But I honestly, if it was going to be a radical ideology, most likely it would be Islam. But I don't know.
Most
This
likely,
doesn't.
especially
I don't.
because
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna
Here you
say,
go.
especially because like he targeted a country music concert is what makes it so bizarre because like that's just a bunch of typically white Republicans because you think country music, you think a red state. You think like Oklahoma, you think Tennessee, you think Texas, you think Mississippi, you think South Carolina, you think Georgia. Those are places where you would typically hear country music, and then the entire Midwest.
But
They're all red.
if I was a right wing, quite possibly you're right. There's a possibility. I will not deny. There's a possibility that you were right. But if I was a left wing communist extremist, I would have targeted someone who I knew for sure was a Republican.
Like a convention or something. That would make
Yeah,
more
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
if I may,
So I don't think this is a communist or a right wing extremist by any means whatsoever. Actually, I think in Norway, a few years back, there was a terrorist attack, and his goal was to scare the country into voting right wing. That was pretty fuck. It was kind of fucking retarded, but anyways, Rational had something to say.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think he necessarily is political. Well, obviously we don't know, but there's also a possibility that he could have been had some form of depression, and that could have caused him to want to kill people. Because when you're depressed, there is a possible chance that I don't know why, but can make you want to kill people for whatever reason.
I mean, he did have a gambling problem. That's the only I know two things about him that are weird. The first one is that he had a gambling issue. He was gambling all the time, online poker specifically. And the second thing that I know about him that's a little weird is his dad actually made it onto the FBI top 10 wanted list for robbing a bank and then, being on the run. But he died, he never really interacted with his dad. His dad, robbed the bank when he was like 2 or 3 and then was on the run for 10 years, never interacting with his family as far as, the media knows so far, and then died in jail. So he never really knew or interacted with his dad. But that's the only two things. He was an avid gambler, and his dad actually made it onto the FBI most wanted list for something unrelated. Other than that, he's just some guy.
There's something that I definitely did think of when you said that.
I bet now, since you said that, ANCAPs are probably going to start saying, because he has no political affiliations, he was a government conspiracy or something.
Government. The thing is, if you make the population scared of the government, then by default you are right. Then by default your opposition has no power. So, the leftists do this too, when you try to blame everything on the right, and the right will try to blame everything on the left. It works both ways, no matter how you see, But now that you mention it, if I had to take a guess, I think you're the terrorist. I think, I think he may have been trying to live up to his dad. I think he was trying to make himself. I think that maybe was his only legacy he had to hold on to in his old age. Was his dad was a criminal and wanted to try and live up to that. You think that sounds silly, or?
I mean, it's not unheard of, but I don't know if that would explain it. I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not going to say no, that's ridiculous. That's definitely a possibility that he was like, you know what, my dad made it on the top 10 wanted list, and he said one thing to me that I remember, and it was something about screw people, take what you want, do what you want. No one can keep you dead. Some kind of stupid, villainous kind of thing to say. And he probably held on to that for his whole life waiting. And that's a possibility. Another possibility is, he just never had a dad and so has issues. There are several claims with pretty much zero backing stating that, he converted to Islam. I've seen it all over the place that he converted to Islam. He was worshiping in secret, blah, blah, blah. But all of that is alleged. So the only thing we have is just he was crazy, but really good at hiding it.
Oh, sorry, Rational, though.
Oh, yeah, I agree. We don't know much about it, and that's what I find so stupid is all these different people coming up to conclusions that he's a terrorist because obviously he was a terrorist, but he wasn't necessarily, we don't know if he was a Muslim terrorist because we don't have any information on him being part of Islam. And where you have crazy Muslim terrorists, and you have ANCAP saying, don't throw out the government as a possibility, which the government is not going to do everything. It wouldn't be enough.
The government wants to tax you, not kill you, okay? They want to tax you till you have a heart attack.
This is not going to help the government take away guns. This wouldn't be big enough. And then there's who else is had said some stupid stuff.
Oh, there's people saying that we need to ban white men.
Yeah,
Oh my god. Feminists, right? It's gotta be some feminists, right?
Feminists, just every left-leaning outlet that's not like literally mainstream. So if it's not CNN or MSNBC, it's like Salon or Vox or
Okay,
I
did
don't know, just
Vox did Vox really say ban white men?
I think so. Or they said, or they made the argument that like without white men, there would be this many less deaths per year, or something stupid.
Did
They're
Vox
trying to
really do
spark
that?
a racial thing about it, and
Did, did,
I hate how they're always doing that. They're always just like, oh, if it weren't for white men, our country would be perfect.
they actually remind me more of the alt-right when they do shit like that.
There's a game that a lot of people play, and it's like, who wrote it? The alt right or the SJW left? And like they'll just show you the title, and it's like, I don't know. Like there was one that was a great example. It was, we're tired of seeing interracial couples in movies. It was the left, not the alt right. That's just how but that's how stupid they are. They
Yeah,
are
I
the
know.
only true example of horseshoe theory in modern society.
Fuck yeah, it's so sickening because I think a lot of us are sick and tired of this whole um making shit about race, and it's really tiring to me. I don't need to see that shit all day.
like
Most people don't want to.
who's
Yeah.
with race? The alt right or the regressive left?
Yeah, no one ever knows.
Honestly, I've met some people in the alt-right that aren't racist whatsoever. They just want closed borders, and they want everyone in their society to integrate and assimilate, and only letting people that into their society that will assimilate, regardless of skin. But I've also talked to some racist alt-righters. So I mean, like, the issue is when your indoctrination to your ideology, one of its core principles is dividing moral absolute of this absolutely is a problem. We have a problem because everything else is demonized. Actually, there's this one. I'm eventually going to respond to the golden one, but he did this video. Ever heard of the golden one?
The what?
He's this retarded YouTuber. I can't remember. He's 60,000 subs or something. He's also been on Terry McCarthy's show. He calls himself the new right. He often defends the alt right, but like the guy is such a complete fucking moron. He's from Sweden. He's like this. He follows Nordic philosophy, and he's this bodybuilder who is really right wing. I remember he actually one time did a video about how he didn't really want to say on if he thought Adolf Hitler was a bad guy or not because he didn't want to offend any of his European brothers, and he said it was just a stupid war. And then on top of that, he also did another video. What was it? About rape and how men cannot be raped at all.
Oh,
And
that guy.
in the video, in the description, he wrote down, anyone using feminist talking points is weak. So if you combat this argument, you are by default weak. It almost reminds me of Stefan Malinu, non-argument. How he uses it to such an extent. Stefan Malinu has destroyed someone destroyed that word.
Well, the thing is that go ahead, Rational.
Asking what I missed. I was gone for a second. Get food.
If women could fucking rape in Sweden and get away with it, in 2-3 years, I promise you, Sweden would turn into fucking Kukistan, and a bunch of fucking female pedos would just go move to Sweden, or just illegally enter Sweden. Like,
yes, but then you see, then they would in turn be raped by the Muslims that moved in. So it would just be, it's already the rape capital of the West. Like it's not even arguable anymore. Like more rapes happen in Sweden now than anywhere else on the planet, as far as the West is concerned. And if you did that, if you just made it so that like women literally can't be convicted of rape, then everywhere that it's not a Muslim no-go zone, it will be a giant women raping children zone.
Or teens and shit.
Sweden is literally hide your kids, hide your wife. They're raping everybody out here.
Oh my goodness. You know, the thing is, what was it? Yeah, so I know somebody from Norway. He was telling me back in the 80s and 90s, Swedes were notoriously racist.
The
And
good old days.
to
Joking.
me, it's the same old days. They haven't changed at all. That's my mentality. See, over here in Canada, we might be cucked, but we sure as fuck hate. We hate unfair social justice. And that's the huge difference between Canada and Sweden is when our politicians do it, they drop in the polls. When their politicians do it, they still they're still getting by. But the thing is I think I haven't researched into this, but I heard that there was this Nordic Aboriginal tribe in Sweden, and it was not necessarily illegal to kill them. Although murder was illegal, for their tribe, they didn't have any human rights for that particular tribe of people. Some of them are in Russia, some of them are in Norway. There's a particular First Nations tribe in Sweden. And yeah, it was pretty common for people just to kill them and no one care. At least that's what I heard back in the 70s and 80s.
See, Norway just sounds like the place to be. It's like, screw these guys. They suck. They're not people. Kill them. And now you just got to pretend. We just got to apply that. But here, for communists. And then we're golden.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, what?
I'm joking. It was a throw commies out of helicopter.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But no, seriously, like
Be back in a second. Hold on.
All right. Norway, I think a lot of the world can learn from Norway. They understand that they need to be a little protectionist with who they let into their country. They don't just allow lots of people in. This, I don't mean like they are homogenous, but they're not homogenous and racist about it. They just understand if you want to come here, you got to offer us something. Like I like Australia's immigration policies more than Canada's. All I'm saying is, you know, whoever you let in your country, you need to be letting in people that benefit the country, and it's not our job to let in the whole third world as a virtue signal.
Agreed.
You know, rather than letting in the third world, what we should do is have trade policies with these countries to help them develop and help them have jobs in their own borders. Reasonable trade policies, not this China or TPP shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would probably be good. I think that would be better than giving their governments money for free. That's for sure.
I don't mind that as long as it's under a balanced budget and it's a very small percentage of.
My only problem is not so much the fact that, well, not only the fact that I don't like tax dollars going to foreign governments so much, but also the fact that prevents those governments from improving because
I would.
Ours here in the West.
I would just. Oh, sorry.
Like government Africa.
You keep cutting out, and I can't really hear you. Can you say that again a little bit from the start? Because I keep thinking you're done because you're cutting out.
Well, I was saying that governments in like Africa are much more corrupt than they are in the West.
Yeah, that's irrelevant. In my opinion, that's sort of irrelevant in the sense that, okay, any society, I've thought a lot about this. Any society, when there's less resources for everybody, the people that make it to the top are going to hold on to that even tighter. And if they don't, they might fall down. So even if we stopped helping them, it would probably just get worse in the sense that they would have even more incentive just to guarantee their own wealth.
Not necessarily, because like the whole point of like with the welfare system, which would be similar, I would figure, with what we're doing with these countries. With welfare, it decentralizes people to improve themselves because they get stuff free. Obviously, it does work with some people, but there are a large percentage of people who will want to do no work whatsoever. And
what does that have to do with Africa, particularly? What does that have to do with Africa?
Oh, what? Hold on. Sorry about that. Someone was coming in. What that has to do with Africa is what I'm trying to say is the African countries, they get money from some of the African countries, I don't know how many exactly, get money from the United States government, and it has done nothing to help improve the governments. The governments are still just as corrupt, and they're hoarding that money and not helping their own people.
Actually, you know what? In that case, another suggestion is to not. I think maybe there should be legislation that all foreign governments. Yeah, I think maybe we shouldn't allow our governments to give money to their foreign governments. We should only allow our governments to donate money to reasonable, proven private charities, so it doesn't get into the hands of greedy politicians. You know what I mean? Yeah, but the thing is, I wanted to say was, no matter what you do within, it depends on how societies change and grow and develop. Back, I think it was 500, 600 years ago. I think in Russia, basically, they ran out of resources to pay the fucking guards. So the kings asked the guards to ask the civilians for donations. And it started a long culture in Russia of bribery. So bribery, it comes down to culture, it comes down to religion, it comes down to also your survivability of that country. You know, do you have to take bribes in order to guarantee the survival of your family? All these things contribute. Like, this is why I'm not against our leaders getting $1 million after, like our prime ministers getting $1 million after they serve our country, is because it gives them less incentive to be less corrupt. You know what I mean? In Canada, I think they make 500,000 every year.
Mm-hmm.
Make 500,000 every year after they get out of power. You know, prime ministers. Your presidents get $1 million every year, I think. But anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't mind doing charities to the third world, and I think it's a good thing as long as it's under a balanced budget and it's a small amount. To, like, for example, if it's less than 0.5% of your total spending, it's nothing. I think Australia spends, was it 0.01 or 0.05, something like that percentage of their total spendings on like foreign charity.
Mm-hmm.
Because like things like birth control and shit. Because if we decrease the amount of people born in these foreign countries, they're going to be less likely to try and such as condoms, birth control pills, they're going to be less likely to try and come over to here as refugees. Because I think Obama pledged $750 million in El Salvador to decrease the crime rate. Now, do you know about so I think you know a little bit about, actually, do you know about El Salvador at all?
I may or may not. Why don't you just tell me anyways?
Okay, so El Salvador is murder capital of the world. It's basically Detroit as a country. And, you know, statistics to Detroit and El Salvador is kind of the same. So imagine Detroit as an entire country. I think each year, 1% of its population is murdered. Or something like that. Some ridiculously huge number, or 10% or 2%, some shit like that. So in Salvador, I think the Obama administration pledged $750 million to invest in it each year to try and decentivize crime. So people would have something else to do, and it would kind of push them in the right direction, because people keep resorting to crime as the only way to make a living. And a big part of the illegals coming up to the United States is illegals. There's a whole syndicate of crime throughout Central America. And it doesn't just come from Mexico. These people that everyone thinking is illegal Mexicans, some of them are probably from El Salvador, some probably from here, there. But I'm saying a lot of these drug cartels, a lot of these crime families, a lot of these illegal immigrants and refugees coming up to America, a lot of them are coming out of desperation because they have to escape these crime-stricken countries. So it does kind of tackle the problem at the root. So I guess in that circumstance, I wouldn't mind foreign investment and foreign aid, sort of quote unquote, but I generally take a problem with most foreign charities. What do you think? Rational?
I personally don't like government giving away money. There are certain circumstances, I will say, maybe perhaps the government should perhaps help some countries, like in natural disasters. But I personally am more for private charities helping other countries rather than our government.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, dude, the way I see it is we're entering a day and age where you cannot escape the fact that people are going to have a uprising of what it means to be nationalistic. At the same time, we cannot escape the fact that this is a globalized world, and we have to do our part to try and help the world a bit. But it's not our job to fix the world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, when Justin Trudeau gave $600 million to foreign aid for contraceptives to third world, I'm shocked because $600 million is like $6 billion American.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you guys are essentially 10 times bigger than us, literally. Canada is the population of California. So when he's spending that level of money, I'm just in shock. So if he was to spend 60 million, 20 million, 10 million, I wouldn't care. You know what I mean? But that's just my view on it.
Once he gets over to the equivalent of essentially $1 billion or over $1 billion, it's kind of just like why is that going to foreign affairs?
No, I'd say like I think Canada's GDP is roughly, I think, 1 trillion or 1 point something trillion, and America's GDP is 20 trillion, I think. That's what I mean. That's the equivalent of Obama giving $6 billion to foreign contraceptives. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like
Like I have nothing against
foreign aid in general, because what I've noticed is that foreign aid really picked up in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and it just kept skyrocketing and growing exponentially through the 80s and 90s and 2000s. And what do we have to show for it is now all the third world countries where everybody had a horrible standard of living, they have equally as bad standard of living. They just now can support 4 to 5 times the size of population. That's the only change we did, is we fed them. They don't have better schools. They don't have better clothing. They don't have better anything. They just have more food paid for by us. They didn't learn a thing. They didn't change their standard of living. They just had more kids.
But wait, hold on. Are you talking about all of Africa? Like, are you just talking about which countries are you talking about here?
Not specifically any country or even Africa as a continent. I'm talking about like places in South America. I'm talking about lots of countries in Africa, several places in Asia and stuff. Like, that's not the sole cause. No, obviously there's a lot of factors, but like us giving them money and them not increasing their standard of living almost at all, or like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, literally hell and 10 being heaven, their standard of living went from a 2 to a 2.5. It's not really a step up. They just have more people now. They can afford to feed more mouths. And that's all that really changed as far as what our foreign aid provided. Yeah, there were some places where the standard of living went up a little bit more than that. It jumped significantly. But most places our money went to just paid for food.
Yeah, actually, I haven't really been watching where the money's been going, but I do know a lot of these third world countries are developing. So maybe I'm looking. Maybe you have a good point for the countries that you are helping, but I need to actually see that, because a lot of these third world countries are already at the bottom, so they only have up to go. And like Botswana, like I said before, it's pretty safe. Their birth rate's going down. Zimbabwe's birth rate's going down. Like a lot of people, a lot of these alt-writers are complaining about white genocide and how white babies are decreasing. Well, fuck, black, black countries, black birth rates are just plummeting. Like if you look at a lot of these black countries, they're starting to slowly start to look like first world countries. They're starting to look like first world slums. You know what I mean? The cars, cracked paved ways, nice malls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, like most of the places that are growing decently, or I should say industrializing, are from the Chinese investments. It has nothing to do with the charities and stuff and the government aid from the West. We've done nothing for Africa ever. Like I would say after like 1900, we
I would,
literally did nothing good for Africa. And even before then, the only good we did was equalized by bad, if not overshadowed. So we've never done anything good for Africa.
well, I'd say that it's probably, yeah, foreign investment's one thing, but also capitalism. The reason why South America is moving backwards is because National Socialism and communism, the raw, not the reform socialism, not social democracy, not liberal socialism, not capital liberalism. I'm talking socialism by the state owns things, or national socialism, or by I will give wealth only to selected people that I consider my tribe. Um, it doesn't work. And South Africa is moving backwards. They're turning into one of the most wealthiest African nations, slowly back into the third world hellhole it used to be. Well, it kind of still is, but um, the thing is that most of these African nations are moving forward because of capitalism, universal health care, and capitalism, universal health care. Oh, what was it? I know there was capitalism, universal health care, foreign investment, and resources. Because if I have a kid, and if I don't have to worry about that kid dying from diseases, because up here in the northern hemisphere, we have a winter that kills off a lot of bacteria. It sanitizes a lot of the earth. But out in Africa, where there's bugs and insects, and it's hot all year round, they don't have that. So when they don't have to worry about their kids dying as much, and you have a market growing, it really helps. And if not universal healthcare, affordable healthcare.
My only problem with universal health care is that it's not sustainable unless you have a continuously growing work population, a workforce.
My biggest problem is that it focuses too much on, helping the people that are already sick and not doing enough to prevent the sickness to begin with. Like, I think that school, like, if you guys, like, I don't know if you guys have any, like, nieces or nephews or kids or, or families, neighbors that have kids and that they're in school and stuff, in elementary school. Gym class is like the first semester of the year and then they don't have it again, or it's like once a week and that's it until high school. And then they only have to take one health class and one gym class to compensate for all 4 years. Like, it's literally just, oh, I took my gym class my freshman year and now I've taken 0 physical activity since then. I've also learned nothing because I've taken no health classes. Like, we as a nation, like, I don't know how Canada does it, but like, we as a nation teach almost nothing for, maintaining your health or, sickness prevention, disease prevention. We don't do anything for it. We do nothing.
But I wasn't referring to.
Oh, you're sick. Here's some pills instead of eat some vegetables.
Okay, but that's the thing. I'm referring to Africa, though. It's a
They have even less excuse. Like, they could have the easiest healthcare on the planet because literally they can grow the healthiest food you can find year round, and it's always nice enough to exercise. They don't have to worry about dying in a winter storm. Like, they're fine. The only problem they have is disease that doesn't die, and you'd think by now they would have some kind of preventive thing, if not evolutionary, then scientifically, which they kind of do with sickle cell anemia and malaria, to an extent.
Yeah. I'm just saying some African nations have gotten healthcare more accessible to the mainstream population, which is good because then they don't have to have 20 kids to exaggeration to
Make sure some make it to adulthood.
yeah, well, that's why I said universal / affordable.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, I'm not saying that, like,
It's yeah, but it's a different
healthcare has
yeah.
nothing
But
to
I'm
do.
saying the situation in Africa is a totally different story. So what you're saying is you guys in America, you guys don't learn about healthy eating, or
We don't do anything healthy. Like, it took us until like 8 years ago to even notice that smoking killed you. Like, we do not care about health in this country at all. All we care about is do what you want until you get so sick you have to take pills, and then hope those pills keep you alive to keep doing the bad stuff for you for another couple of years. That's it. That is our healthcare. That is why it's so terrible. That is why universal healthcare would just bankrupt us in a year. We're too fat. We're
yeah,
too unhealthy.
like honestly, a part of me has had in recent years, a part of me has less respect for obese people because I was always taught to never call a woman fat, and I'd like to challenge that social norm because that's fucking retarded. If you're a man or a woman and if you're fat, well, guess what? You're fat. And you know what else is about that? I think approximately, what was it? I can't remember how much, but it's almost was it point zero or 0.4% or 0.2% of our GDP goes towards, I think, or our budget goes towards obese people in Canada. And Canada is like, from what my friends tell me, they go down to the States, they often tell me that the women there, a lot of them are better looking, but a lot of them are like roly-poly as fuck.
Yeah,
And up here in
66% of our
Canada,
population is extremely overweight. Over 35% of our population is morbidly obese. So yes, we
Canada,
have an extreme overweight issue. We
Canada
just
is
keep eating. We
yeah,
love it.
Canada is like a little chubby. We're fat. We are fatter than most countries, but we're not as fat as America. Is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
Well, I mean, and like people don't understand the difference. There's a difference between, having an extra 15, 20 pounds, being a little bit out of the healthy range in the BMI, and being morbidly obese. There's a vast difference, and they like to pretend that there isn't. So it's like, somebody's a little overweight, no big deal. They might even be healthier by being a little overweight because everybody's different. But then, they see somebody who's just obese next to them and say, I'm the same amount of healthy. I'm actually more beautiful because I have bigger curves. It's just like, stop. Please stop. You're killing yourself.
There's one race in the United States who are doing fine in the sense of health, that they don't have many people who are fat or obese.
The
No,
Amish.
no, no, the Asians. Asian.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. Wow, I just found out Qatar and Saudi Arabia is actually decently obese countries. What a shocker.
Yeah, Asians tend to be, they have a whole lot less obese and fat people within them. The ones that are worst off are blacks, then I think Hispanics, and then whites. But blacks are the very worst.
That's because, unfortunately, fast food has kind of targeted them specifically in our country. Like, every single McDonald's commercial is like a rap video at this point. Like, obviously a more PG rap video, but like it's an entirely black family. They're having a good time. There's music where the singers are obviously of African American descent, and it's targeted just straight for them. And it's the same with KFC and Wendy's. It's just all the fast food places target them, and they live in inner cities or in like more rural areas where it's hard to get something expensive or eat out at a nice place, and they just are saying, "Oh well, whatever. I'll go get some Wendy's. I'll go get some Pizza Hut. I'll go get something cheap and easy." And that's unfortunate for them. The Hispanic population is a little different because that's just the way Hispanic people eat.
I just found it funny. Mexico is apparently fatter than you guys.
Yeah,
It's their style of food. It's just very, very fat heavy. I mean, like, it's beans are fattening, and meat is fattening, and they have a lot of beans and meat, a lot of it.
Saudi Arabia is not going to be able to do the jihad at this rate if the 35.2%. Well, I think this was 2016. 35.2% of Saudi Arabia was obese.
Ah, they're the same as us now. Good.
Imagine some like sort of suicide bomber trying to run towards a building, but he like has to stop. Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. He sits down on a bench like breathing.
He would just give up. He would just be like, "This is too much," and he'd go to Burger King. Be like, "This is my way. I have it my way."
You find that funny, Rational?
Yeah.
But no, seriously, uh,
Yeah.
I'm not for illegalizing people being obese, but I understand now why Japan has it that way. And
Made it illegal to be obese.
I'm not for shaming people for being fat, but I don't think we should silence people that want to criticize people that are fat and obese. I'm sorry, but if you're fat and you're fucking obese, you're fucking wasting this. You're not someone who's on disability who had no choice. You're not somebody who had a mental breakdown and has no choice but to need help. You choose not to get help, and we are supposed to now respect you for that. Doesn't that sound retarded?
It is. It's very dumb. And there's people that will they take defending fat pride very, very seriously, and they
Like,
say all kinds of like new made up words like you're fat phobic, and it's like I have no fear of your fat. In fact, you would do better if you had more fear for your own fat. It's your embracing of the obese lifestyle that is going to get you killed by a heart attack or some kind of other organ failure before you're 40. Like, stop it.
yeah, I mean,
But
like,
yes, critical. I don't. It's not illegal to be fat in Japan. I'm pretty sure it's just that you get fined if you take up too much space. And good luck finding clothes because they do cost more based off of size. So if you if you were to wear a pant size of 32 in Japan, no problem. But if you were to buy a pant size of like 42, you would have to pay extra for the extra fabric because you're fat.
are you sure? Because I know that there are fines for being fat in Japan, or at least they used to be.
Yeah, there's fines, but
I
it's not
think it's an
illegal. I
unpopular
mean,
thought, by the way.
that's like saying, yeah, it's not illegal. Uh, I can't think of a good example, but like if it's not illegal to do something, but you get fined for doing it, like you're not gonna get taken to jail unless you refuse to pay the fine. It's just kind of like you too fat in public, you'll get fined.
Well, if I remember correctly hearing, I've heard that supposedly Asians actually have more of a reason to perhaps do something like that because they're more at like they have to be in a lower amount. They have to have a lower amount of fat because they're at more risk with, I guess, high blood pressure and all those things if they have too much fat because for them they have to be at a lower amount of fat. Now I'm just rambling.
No, there is some minor differences when it comes to your own personal family and when it comes to overarching races, as far as the three major ones of essentially white, black, and Asian. All three of those races have slightly different things when it comes to diet. Like white people typically can have a higher tolerance towards dairy products. And then there's certain groups in Asia that just respond to to alcohol absolutely horrifically. And I know that's the case with the native people of Alaska, whose name is escaping me right now, but like they have a very violent reaction, literally, to alcohol. And it's just hereditary. It's just hereditary for not just families, but like whole groups, with very rare exception. And so there is some differences when it comes to genetics as far as dietary things, what is healthy and what is not healthy based off of who you are.
I would like to say, what was it? Oh yeah, rational. Mind if we talk about? I saw your video talking about Otterface and Hi, I Think I'm Real, the response to the Prager University, the one about school identity.
Yeah.
Or it's American identity. I found that completely ridiculous.
Wait,
Mind if I wanted to ask you, what did he say to you on Twitter? Hi, I think I'm real. Like, what tweets did he send you?
well, let me see if I can try to remember. I mean, I don't know if I have the pictures or not from Twitter. What he basically did was he insulted my intelligence. He insulted my channel size, and he sort of insulted my, I guess, looks, because he said, "Oh, this guy follows me on Instagram. He must just wank off to my photos." Seriously, he's so full of himself.
That's actually kind of, you know, even because you're gay, that's actually, in my opinion, even more offensive. In my opinion. Do you agree with that or no?
That part doesn't bother me. The fact that I'm gay, that he said that. My only thing was that I just felt he's very shallow. But
Yeah, that is an extremely shallow perspective. Like, did you know Dave Rubin blocked Nightmare Fuel just for criticizing him?
no, I
Called him a troll.
before, but I don't know. So he has.
But anyways, the thing with the "Hi, I think I'm real" the video, I was just a complete shock because I wanted to tell you a little bit about my story. Being in a school where some people had different identities.
Mm-hmm.
You guys want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay, so in my schools I went to, there were East Indian kids that were mostly Sikhs. Some of them were, they were from India, and some of them were Hindus, probably. Very, very minority of them were Muslims, but the Sikhs and the native white kids. So basically, in the center of Vancouver, you don't have this problem. In the center of Vancouver, all the Punjabis, all the Sikhs there are really rich, really nice. But if you move a little bit away from the center of Vancouver, the area I grew up in, basically, it was like two tribes that would clash together. And people would assimilate, people would, on their like recess and lunch, would hang out with people of the same ethnicity. And when you have a bunch of people when their own national identity is not, their national identity is not Canadian, it's not American, they're going to associate with people of their own identity. For example, if I have a large, like my cousin was telling me, who's part Chinese, it was normal for Chinese people to make fun of white kids, out in Vancouver. So, the same thing there. It's basically like when I was in grade 9, a lot of these Indian kids would ask me why I hang out with white kids, and they'd say that they weren't racist, and they would make fun of me for hanging out with the white kids. But what it really came down to is it was difference in culture, and the white kids, to some extent, that I hung out with, if you kind of act outside their culture, they would sort of try to get you out of they would try to shoo you off a little bit, some of them. But essentially, it was extremely tribal. It was very tribal, and there was a lot of racism between the groups. There was this one kid in my business class who always would brag about how his family owns a Subway, and they don't hire white people. And because like thinking about the Prager University, all I could think to myself is it's stupid.
Well, that's kind of weird. Hello, everybody, by the way.
Hello, Colin.
I caught probably a good portion of that. That's kind of strange that you mentioned that they wouldn't hire white people at a Subway. I
could explain why.
Well, I mean, it's the like tribalism is the big thing here, right?
It has nothing to do with there are certain people that are Japanese, Korean, and they want you to speak Japanese or Korean in the restaurant. They have nothing against you for being white. They have nothing against you for being black. And I've heard people complain about not getting hired because they don't speak a certain language. Well, guess what? They would have hired you if you learned to speak that language. Anyone could take a class tomorrow. But the thing is where they legitimately don't want to hire you because you're not East Indian. They want to help people that they see as their own religion and their own ethnicity and their own tribe. And when you bring that into a school setting, you're just going to have trouble because people are going to clash with those that they do not consider their own tribe. And my whole life, I wasn't I was like the least racist person ever. I would always get at people for being racist to other people. Now I've gotten older, I just see that I've accepted that humans are prejudiced, even if I'm not. And I don't know. It's not that I want to get rid of people that don't integrate or assimilate. Like out in Toronto, there's a big Jamaican community there that has like Jamaican ghettos,
Right.
and there's a lot of American immigrants, which the black community there essentially tends to be more ghetto and whatnot. I'm sure there are Jamaicans across Canada and people across Canada that are getting along, but whenever you have two groups, two dominant cultures, even if you think they normally assimilate, they'll tend to clash if they start to become large in numbers. And if they don't have intentions of letting go of their tribalism.
That's an interesting concept. Like I guess I understand why that is, but it's just I guess being in like growing up in the Midwest, I didn't see a whole lot of that. Like I grew up big city Kansas.
Everyone
and
white?
Most I wouldn't say like most really. Like I grew up around pretty big diverse in elementary school, middle school, high school.
But they came there to be American, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know.
That's it. Like a lot of people just come here for the money and for the business. And those people, I don't want them in Canada.
True.
Because they come here and they sort of create division amongst Canadians, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, my opinion, if you are here and if you don't have a citizenship, and if you're only hiring people of one religion or one race, I think you should be banned from ever getting citizenship, ever being able to vote.
I mean, I would say that is fair. I know of a city, well, a little town about, I'd say like 3 hours west of where I'm at, that has a large, what country is it? It's a Middle Eastern country. I can't remember which one. I don't know if it's like Somalia or which country it is, but there's a large amount of people in that area that they all work at the same place. They live in basically like a little town of their own, in essence, and they don't want to integrate. It seems like with the rest of society, they just want to be with their own people. And
what race? Like, I'm not even white. And to this day, like, one time I was bartending. I used to be a bartender a long time ago. So I was doing some private catering, and I'm mixing some drinks, and the DJ comes up to me, and he starts talking about the first Sikh man that started fighting back and killed a white dude for doing something racist back in the 90s, and he was talking about him as if he was a hero. I was literally hearing someone talking about murdering white people, and he's a hero. I'm a nigga. I ain't even white. I'm part white. I got blood going back to Europe and fucking Rome, man. But I'm also African. So I'm just standing there like, this isn't my country. Why are you here?
Right.
If white people are so bad, why the hell do you stay here? If white people were really this bad, you wouldn't be here.
Right.
It's just like I had some friends too that whenever there was a tribal group, let's say Chinese, let's say East Indian, whatever, whenever there was a tribal minority group and there was one person that didn't fit within their tribalism, they would just attack them like no tomorrow. They would attack them worse than the opposition. It's like they try to force you into being a stereotype. And if you don't live up to their collective conformity, then completely fuck you. And they always got the worst brunt of it. And, well, okay, this was a few different groups, but I'm not going to say which. But all I'm trying to say is it's why I really agreed with Rational Outlaw's video that it's important to have an identity of what it means to be American. So everyone comes together and they forge an identity as a country, not as tribes, you know? Like, I'm half black, but I'm Canadian first.
Right.
Rational, you gonna say something?
Oh yeah, Bob, I like that you enjoyed my video.
Well, yeah, somebody's got to speak the truth, and if you want to, like, you can use any of the fucking clips I said here or anything I said in your video. It's just what it comes down to is people don't understand that if your racial tribe is more important than your nation, like your you being together as a nation, you're gonna have issues. This idea that we're all equal and that we will all treat each other equally isn't true. Humans are very divisive, and we're very we tend to divide each other. And rather than dividing each other, we could try and unite as what it means to be Canadian, what it means to be American. We could unite under a collective that accepts all of us for our diversity. And when that dies, from my experience, what you're left with is people that are Chinese hang out with Chinese, Japanese people hang out with Japanese, white people hang out with white people, and you'll have, you know, East Indian people hang out with East Indian people, black people hang out with black people, and this is anywhere in the world, because, you know, I bet you anywhere, somewhere in Canada, there might be a place where black people might be more, they might be like the violent minority, but I bet you anything, someplace in Canada, it might be Vietnamese, Chinese gangs. You know, I'm just saying it doesn't matter where you are. It's why it's important to have a united identity.
That's exactly
What? Pardon me?
I was saying that's exactly what I was trying to get across in my video, that your national identity is far more important than that of your race, your sex, your gender, your sexual orientation, all of that.
Yeah, and the only thing that I think is the only good point I Think I'm Real makes is that we are a country of individuals, and people don't want uniforms, and we tend to rebel against it because we're culturally about liberty. And I'm not against uniforms, and I'm not for it. I'm sort of iffy on that, but I've gone to a school with uniforms, and people can get into uniforms if they want to. And if they didn't want to get into uniforms, then how are they going to work in the real world?
Right.
Sure.
So I'm 50-50 on that. You know, it's up to the school you want to be taken, is the way I see it.
I'm not sure about uniforms, but I do think dress codes are a good thing to have, because, as I said in the video, I don't think we want girls having their butts hanging out and their breasts almost showing, and boys having their pants down at the knees. Professional and
yeah, I mean, like, if you want to dress like a slut near church, you know, by all means, go ahead. Just maybe not at school, maybe not at work.
yeah, that was the whole point. It's because school is basically your job. I mean, obviously, it's mandatory in the United States and other countries, but still, it's basically like a job. You are obviously learning math, science, all that, but you're also learning how to have a sense of work ethic.
Yeah, most people don't understand, especially the ANCAPs and libertarians, that school needs to be mandatory, because we don't naturally, by nature, humans don't form lines for a food bank. We don't form lines for customer service. We learn that in school. We become civilized because we get educated. And that's why education is so important, is to make us integratable into society. Without that, we fall back to our basis instincts. It's really more in our instincts to murder and kill to survive. Fascism is more closer to multiculturalism in raw nature. But it's just, that's why it's important to have a society where people get to sit down, they get to get educated. You know, we get used to being around different people, other religions. I have no problems hanging out with Muslims. I have no problems hanging out with anyone that have any different religion or skin color. I just have problems with anyone that acts in a really arrogant manner. Actually, ever seen the YouTuber Bunty King?
Yes.
He's a Canadian Sikh, and he tends to act a lot like the stereotypical Canadian Sikh. And he's a really nice guy, but he tends to make those arrogant. I just found it funny because they tend to make arrogant remarks. Really, they tend to think really highly of themselves. It's sort of, I've noticed, it's like a cultural thing.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me because maybe I don't follow him closely enough. Because I haven't heard him like do like anything that would make me say, "Wow, that was kind of arrogant of you."
Yeah, he said to fucking Tail Deer that Tail Deer's a loser because he doesn't have Twitter, and everyone has Twitter. And this guy's so antisocial. Then Tail Deer logs into his Twitter, just doesn't use it that much.
Well, I didn't even think Teal had a Twitter anymore.
Well,
From what I understand,
he just didn't link it. He just doesn't want to use it.
well, because like I was following Teal Deer for the longest time, and then it disappeared from my list of follows because I thought that he had deleted it in favor of Minds, and then he started linking his Minds in his videos.
Well, I mean, like, who wants to use Twitter as like the main way of communicating with? You don't want to give Google more power. You want to give Minds more power. You want to give Gab more power. You want to give the companies that are going to stand for free speech. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. I think the big thing is
not around to making accounts on those sites yet. So, by the way, I'm here.
critical.
Obviously, not to say all people that are Sikh or Punjabi are arrogant. I'm just saying, from what I've noticed, it's pretty common to make funny remarks like that. Bunty King's a cool guy.
Right. Like I like a lot of what he says.
He's a cool guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him.
Right. I guess I just haven't seen anything that would make me just say, man, that was kind of arrogant of you. Because a lot of times when it seems, I guess maybe to me, if it would seem like that, sometimes I kind of see the context of it maybe a little clearer or something. But like I know sometimes he'll say, if he says something like that, it's like, oh, I see, he's kind of being trolly. But sometimes I guess I can mistake being a troll for arrogance, or vice versa, depending.
So who popped in here? Zen Commander and Critical?
Yeah, the Commander and Critical.
So.
Sup?
Is Commander a YouTuber? Or?
I asked everyone this question. Can I put it in your pooper? Just the tip. Just the tip.
Oh, God damn it. I'm sorry I'm late to this stream. It's just that
no homo.
Where I am, the stream is 1 a.m. and currently it's 3 a.m. and I crashed because, I had to get mascarpone for tiramisu and it became heavily raining, so I think I currently have a cold. So,
you might hit a refresh there. You're roboting pretty heavily there.
Yeah, I cannot really hear much of myself. So, is it okay, the speaker?
Well, I can hear you, but it sounds like it's like your latency is rather high because it sounds kind of like robot-y.
Okay, I don't know how to fix it.
So do a refresh on your browser, and it'll pop you out and back in, and see if that fixes it. That's what I used to have to do quite a bit. What browser are you using?
Google Chrome.
Don't use Google Chrome. That's my first bit of advice.
Yeah, I'm trying to find an alternative.
Brave. I use Brave now, and I haven't had any problems.
Okay.
Also, Brave stands for free speech. I'll throw that out there.
Okay, good. So yeah, I mean, I would consider myself as a former YouTuber. I only upload to Minds right now.
That works. Minds is a good platformer.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Yeah, I upload to Minds, then VidMe as well.
Oh, sure. I like VidMe as a platform. I just don't know if it's kind of the same problem that I had when I was searching for alternate YouTube, platforms, as it were. Their terms of service kind of has that weird gray area where it's the same thing as like hate speech in a vague manner, and other things like that. If you read through heavily on their TOS, that it seems vague on purpose, where somebody could say, "Hey, look, this person is saying hate speech, and it's really just disagreements." And then it just goes, "Well, I have to, get this video knocked back a few pegs because hate speech. Oh, howdy." But BitChute where I currently have an account, it's as long as you're following the laws of the country that they host in. Currently, right now, it's England, so it's kind of weird. But as long as you don't blatantly copyright, it's like kind of the weird unwritten laws, like don't blatantly copyright, don't actively actually hate use hate speech against somebody, those kind of things that instead of the whole vagueness, it's this set of actual real life laws. Don't break these, and we will not ban you, and we will not pull your videos down.
Yeah.
Would it be better for them?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Oh,
That's fine.
I was going to say, wouldn't it be better for BitChute to host their company in like the United States, since the United States, I would figure, has better freedom of speech protections than the United Kingdom?
I would agree with that statement. Yes. Although I think I don't know how the oversight surveillance is in the UK. It could be something to do with like oversight. Because we have the NSA, which is very perverse on a lot of things.
Yeah, because they love the iPhone X right now. Haven't you noticed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, what government oversight program doesn't love the iPhone X? Apple's very complacent in allowing for spying and all that. But I would agree with that with the UK versus US. But like the big thing that they do, it's kind of strange. They don't host immediate pieces. They're on the blockchain, which is all torrents. And so it makes for a really, like if you upload directly to BitChute, it's really egregiously slow to upload directly to BitChute. But the nice thing is you can use BitChute as a almost like a secondary / primary platform, which sounds kind of strange, but if you link your YouTube channel, it uploads your videos from your YouTube channel over from the blockchain, and then every video that you upload to YouTube gets immediately pulled over to your BitChute account once it updates. And so you can start, trying to say, I'm going to be uploading here, but I want you guys to go view my BitChute account.
Interesting.
I think we've gotten a bit off topic. So I was thinking, since the other part I thought of this stream, the other part I wanted to discuss was Catalonia. How do you pronounce it? Is it Catalonia?
Yeah, Catalonia, yeah.
Yeah, I figured it would be interesting if we talked about that and see what everyone thinks.
Well,
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Reminds me of Quebec trying to get away from Canada. The goddamn fucking Frenchies. They trying to fucking escape.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 2 years ago, I remember just watching a short series of stupid little videos on how these nations are going to split apart, or these are going to be new nations, and one of them was all this Catalonia. And with all those videos in the next 5 years, and that was 2 years ago, so now it's happening.
Well, I think the one thing that I've kind of watched, it kind of reminds me of the whole Brexit thing, but it feels more. A lot of people like to throw around that word fascism, but I'm not too keen on Spanish government, so I really don't want to throw that word around. But there was videos out there of active voter suppression, paramilitary attacking people. It was kind of a weird thing to watch unfold. On people's like Twitter feeds, of what I could see, because I was working and had a lot to do, so I couldn't really get to watch all of the content and take everything in. I could just see from the perspective of the people that were posting videos and all that, and it was kind of troubling to see. It should be if they feel that they want to split from Spain and have their own country and government and all that. At least for me, I think that should that would be within their rights, but it could be one of those things that's hard to what's the word I'm looking for, like to make the Spanish government do, even through a referendum. Like what happened. And a lot of people had said, oh, this is going to be impossible. Most Catalonian people want to stay with Spain because of the protections that they offer. But then they seen the violence. One of the narratives that was going on was like, well, they seen the violence that was going on, the paramilitary coming out, and people that were trying to actively suppress these people votes, and it swayed the vote to, no, we need to secede from Spain. But I think it's going to be kind of hard for the Spanish government to put together, to help, get that referendum through, like with the article that was part of the leaving the EU for Britain. And if they have like a switch, it could be one of those things that I've heard people say that if there's a change in government within, the period, next 5 years, I think, in the British Parliament, that they could just not allow the whole Brexit to go through. And it could end up being the same thing with Spain and, Catalan, where they don't want to push this through. So it's like, yeah, we'll just wait for this to kind of pass over, as it were.
I have a question. Is Catalonia, how do you pronounce the name? I forget. Is it very left leaning like the rest of Spain, or what is its political exactly?
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
I think it might have been center-right or something along the lines of that. No, because I remember seeing something as if they were against the migrants because they have an idea of what they bring in, unlike the rest of Spain, which still wants migrants. So, I don't know really. I got an iPad with me. I'll quickly check it out.
Cog, didn't you say there was a way Z could improve his sound quality?
Yeah, in his browser, he would have to do a refresh. So he had to hit like F5 or whatever part of the world he's in, whatever would trigger a refresh on his keyboard.
Did you want to try that, Z?
The best way to solve audio issues in Google Hangouts is to go to your control prompt and delete Windows 32 on your computer. That's the best way to fix your Google Hangouts issues.
Okay, I am not doing that because currently it's 3:47 at where I am. I just woke up and I'm trying to keep myself warm.
Oh, hilarious.
I'm not joking, this is Germany and it's cold.
Someone strangle that dog.
Delete Windows 30.
Yo, brother, you from Germany?
No, I'm born in Italy, but right now I'm in Germany.
Oh shit, man! How is it really as crazy as the news makes it look?
With the migrants or the brainwashing?
Both.
Well, let's see. All of my family thinks me and my mother is crazy because we think that Islam is a problem. What else was there? Currently, I'm staying at my grandmother's place in Ansbach, which is underneath Antifa control.
Hello?
Like they're sprayed.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
You and me, I could just go, hey. I know it might be conservative, But are you racist?
No, but I'm not joking. Right out here, they're spray painted on random walls, Antifa controlled zone or area.
Antifa's a fucking political gang, man.
What's the scariest thing is that my favorite mall in the area, there's two entrances to it. There's the short entrance and the long entrance.
You know,
And the,
oh, sorry.
and the difference is mainly because of parking. But in simple terms, the short entrance remained the same. But the long entrance, it's now filled with communists and Muslims. Like, every time I go there, there's always the same group of people, and especially the same overweight woman and bright blue hair, all wearing the hammer and sickle. Like it was nothing.
Yeah, you know, fucking, what was it? Yeah, Antifa's basically just this political gang at the time being. You know, they remind me of when I was in high school, and when you think it's cool to get into fights, and you think if you beat somebody up, it means that you were right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They remind me of a bunch of teenagers that still think that mentality applies when they're adults.
Oh, well, let's be fair. Like, whenever you were in high school, if you won the fight, you were right.
Yeah,
like that doesn't still fly now, but I'm not gonna go and retroactively lose arguments because because I won the fight. Fuck you. Like, you don't get to take that away from me. That doesn't work anymore, but at the time, that worked.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying you're totally right because high school is fight to survive.
Yep.
Goddamn right.
Anyways, no, but what I find more interesting in Germany, there's just nothing on the media. If that makes sense.
Nothing on the
Like,
what?
there's nothing on the media. You know, news, or news in quotation marks. As, like with my grandmother, she only takes in the common newspaper, and if you were to only take in modern day news and, mainstream news in Germany, you wouldn't expect that Germany has a single problem.
So what you're saying is the Germany's news don't really report on this shit that's happening.
Yep.
What a shocker. Imagine my shock.
I want to meet Paul Joseph Watson. He seems like a funny guy to be around.
Was that a good Paul Joseph Watson impression?
Yeah.
Let me try doing that again.
No PJW is a good PJW impression because you're still trying to be PJW, and it all sounds bad. Whether you're using his word or his voice, it still sounds bad.
Well,
Are you saying that oppression is real? Are you the globalist extremists?
Oh, fucking hell.
That is a messed up idea.
Yeah, well, Paul Joseph Watson's he's full of hot air sometimes.
Yeah, but I guess we all are at some points.
Have you ever noticed it's always the people that tend to be further on one side of the spectrum tend to get the most subscribers? T.J. Kirk, Paul Joseph Watson.
I remember. I don't watch so much. T.J. Kirk is the Amazing Atheist, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Because I discovered him surprisingly late, like only September last year. Stayed subscribed for a month and then unsubscribed after seeing some of the new content, especially the video of Remove the Electoral College. Is that the one?
I like T.J. Kirk.
What about the Electoral College?
Might not agree with him, but I like him.
Yeah, I don't like so much his voice by the end of the day, so that's why I kind of. When he was talking about. I'm not going to. What?
Go ahead.
He was talking about how I'm not going to riot. I don't want, like a mentally sane person. But he wanted to get rid of the Electoral College in the U.S. because he believes it's like the only way bad people can be elected to president.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
kind of a weird thing to explain.
Oh, you're talking about how actually, because I know the way the United States works. You mean how
if I could interject.
the candidates you vote for get to vote for the president? Is that what you mean?
Something like along the lines of that.
I could interject. I've actually done quite a bit of research on the Electoral College. It's actually quite ingenious what our founders did. The whole point of the Electoral College is to prevent our country from swinging one way too far to the right or too far to the left. That was one of the big things about the Electoral College. The whole point our founding fathers feared. Well, they feared a few things. The one, a tyrannical government, but also one is they also feared the tyranny of the majority. Like if it was just a bare majority, they hated the idea of popular votes.
Well, and you also have to
wanted-
remember, like the idea of the left and the right didn't even exist at the time of the founding fathers.
Well, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the terms left and right didn't even show up in political discourse until about 1830.
Actually, well, yeah, back then I think what it was liberal and conservative. I think it came in the Renaissance when the idea of libertarian or liberal means you believe that society should be based off individual rights and freedom and equality, and a society where you go as far as your merit. As for conservative, there was more people with conservative philosophy that were conservative to the cultural values.
Anyways, there's many benefits actually to the Electoral College. It would take too long for me to list them all on this stream. You could actually do like a few videos on the Electoral College because it's a very complex topic.
What do you think of them? Oh, sorry.
I was just saying it's not something simple because I did a presentation on it once for one of my classes, and I learned so much more about it. And just reading the actual historical documents, and you can read how much the founding fathers feared tyrannical governments and majority rule popular votes. Like they feared that stuff so much. They hated the idea of democracy. I'm not saying they don't like the fact that people can vote. I'm talking about pure democracy.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like Canada has a constitutional democracy, but countries like Australia, they don't have a constitution. All they have is a monarch, or at least Barron claims they don't have a constitution of rights.
Yeah.
Australia.
Actually, I haven't really looked into Australia, so being fair.
Well, I don't know about Australia, but for the United States, it was. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, Canada's literally the exact opposite of you guys, but your founding fathers didn't want a mob rule mentality.
Oh yeah, now I remember. Like how how people say the United States is democracy. Technically, we're not a democracy.
You're a republic.
Yeah, we're more. Well, there's a few different terms you could say. Some have said constitutional republic. There's also definitions to refer to us as a federal republic or federalist, because federalist meaning that our government is split up into multiple parts, where we have three branches: the legislative, executive, and judicial. And the republic part is being that we indirectly vote for representatives. We vote for representatives rather than vote directly. It's a very complex topic. I mean, what the founding fathers made with after the first form of the U.S. government failed, the redesigning was very ingenious of them. They were very careful into what they were trying to do. Obviously, it wasn't perfect, and there's been some improvements made over the years, but it was actually a quite, I think, very well designed form of government.
You know, even with, like a lot of people don't understand, even with all the corruption in the United States, the foundations that it was laid upon wasn't that bad of an idea, especially for the time. Like, for example, allowing someone to only serve 2 sessions. That was a great idea because, let's face it, there have been a lot of dictators historically. Like, if Putin if Putin could serve four terms, he would.
Actually, the 2-term thing was more of a recent, well, not recent now, but that actually wasn't in the founding. That actually came around in, what was it, the 1900s? Like, we haven't had the limited amount of terms for a president for all that long compared to the other portions of, I guess, Power's law and all that.
Yeah, I was joking around.
That was in the early 1900s, right?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. I forget which president ran for 4 terms, and after him, they decided to get rid of that whole allowing presidents to run for more than 2 terms.
Yeah. The issue, what was it? Yeah, it's just like if Putin his country's a democracy technically. If he could run for a 4th term, he would. So even though, yeah, it's kind of fucked up, like what's going on in Russia, laws like that, like the laws that have been set in the United States, it wasn't that bad. So electoral college, that's where the candidates voted federally will vote for the president, right? Rational?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. What was the question?
So electoral college, that's where you vote for the person who votes for your president?
Well, yes and no. Certain states have it different. Each state has basically, are voting for our president. Technically, it's not one election. It's actually 51 separate different elections for voting for president, because it's the 50 states and then one election for DC. And what it is, those votes go to a representative, but it can depend on the state. Some states got rid of the representatives and just had it that their votes go for however many electoral votes they have. So it depends on each state. Each state has different laws. Each state has different times in when you can vote.
Yeah. My only issue with that is bribery, obviously, but the good thing is about having any buffer is it prevents a party that realizes their leader is insane or corrupt that they can hop ship at the last moment.
Also, a good thing about having an electoral vote, there are some obviously benefits and there are pros and cons to everything. But I think that, in my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons. Another pro about how the fact that we don't go by a popular vote rather than where we go by electoral vote is the fact that it gives a more broad sense of what the country feels, not just what the majority feels, rather than, just going with the majority. Because if we went with just the popular vote, California, Texas, and Florida and New York would basically control the elections for president if we went off the popular vote. And that would not be fair to the other states, because they would be pretty much ignored. Or only the large cities would be looked at, which also is not very great either, because then the rural areas of the country, who's going to pay attention to that? Because if you do that, they won't have any power in the government in changing things, except for maybe in the Congress. But anyways, that's how I feel.
I honestly believe that we require something like this in Germany.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I honestly believe something like that is required in Germany, because right now, what makes up the news in Germany as negative news is the AfD. They're the Nazis, they're this or that. Recently, the party leader made a
Well, you have to
statement
remember,
of how Islam.
everyone is a Nazi.
Yeah, the actual Nazis, they're even the Nazis. But they're dead.
Yeah.
Anyways, so like the only bit of news that you can get, but of course it's filtered through the eyes of the progressive, is that recently the party leader of the AfD said that Islam is not a religion, but it's a political group, which, to be fair, there's a lot of, I can't remember, was it scholars or imams who kept on saying that Islam is a political thing and not a religious thing. Anyways, but what happened after this is that now every party is condemning the AFD as unconstitutional.
Oh wow!
Even
Yeah, okay. Can we just take a moment to be happy about the fact that you don't sound like shit right now?
wait, what? What? It's working?
Oh fuck! it was working there for a second.
God damn it!
Seconds there, it was like almost crystal clear.
Yeah, I'm getting. After this, I'm trying to transfer everything to that other browser.
And
Yeah, I would like to ask you a question about the AFD, by the way.
Okay.
So the question about the AFD is, when the leader resigns, saying that the party is prone to anarchy, like what does that mean? Because I've heard for a long time that the
Oh, you mean the co-leader? The woman, I forgot what was her name.
Yeah, she resigned, saying that the party was prone to anarchy now. What?
Yeah,
What is the party prone to? Like, are there Nazis in there? Are there actual anarcho-capitalists in there?
No. They are. I would put it as that they are angry people, but not angry to the degree of the Nazis. I mean, half of the party has to live with the migrants, and that's why I think they're the most popular, because unlike every other party leader, like Merkel, Schulz, whatever is the Linke's party leader.
So the AFD, what do they hate? Do they hate? Okay, so like, no, hold on. Do they hate like the ex-Muslims? Do they hate only the Muslims? Do they hate all the migrants?
No.
What is
They
their
have
feeling?
put out of how if you integrate, they want you to stay, but they don't want the violent ones. You know, the ones who just come into the country and start destroying everything.
Yeah, because a part of me sometimes worries in Europe that they're gonna one day kick out the ex-Muslims with the Muslims. Because I think like ex-Muslims and like I think people that choose to lead Islam deserve to stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, but the party doesn't seem to show that, if that makes sense. They have pointed out of how the leader did point out a controversial view that the safest people from the Middle East would be Christians and ex-Muslims. Because unlike the Muslims, the ex-Muslim is going to die in the Middle East, and the Christian is either going to be taxed or beheaded at some point.
Yeah. Fuck, man. You know, I remember. Ever heard of Easy on Me?
Oh yeah.
Wait, does he still exist if his YouTube channel doesn't exist anymore?
I think
Wait, was his YouTube channel deleted?
No, his channel.
Yeah, his channel's gone.
Really? It must have.
His channel is gone?
I'm gonna,
Yeah, as of like 2 or 3 days ago, it got deleted. No one really knows yet if it was like strikes or if it was whatever it was, but his channel is gone. Or now it's okay. Never mind. I'm a liar. It's back up.
Yeah, I was like saying, like I see now. His channel's still here.
Yeah. Maybe like some people did some false strikes. You know, maybe it's for some angry Muslim. You know, don't like Easy.
Okay. Well, as far as a few days ago, it didn't exist, and whenever I checked it yesterday, because somebody mentioned it again, so I decided I was going to go look. It still wasn't there. So I guess somehow in the last 24 hours or so, it came back up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, overall, I mean, like, fuck, you know. What was it? Like, he one time tweeted out saying the reason why it doesn't show his face going to public places is because he's an ex-Muslim and he'll get shot. Like, a Christian criticizing Islam is nowhere near as blasphemous as an ex-Muslim criticizing Islam. And Islam is created in a way that it is very difficult, if not impossible, to have any progress.
Well, let's see. They haven't really progressed since the 7th century, and the only reason why they were able to catch up to the modern world is the Chinese.
I would disagree with that. Islam has had progression. It Just
It was-
it's so little. It's so little that it's almost
Sorry, that was
it's
my
constant.
terrible
What?
Back just a little
I
bit.
said sorry. Oh,
Well, hold on, because like is Islam like as a religion, and especially as far as like the Middle East, were at least as far as the time goes, more progressive than most of the world up until about the 10s and the 20s.
Yeah,
And then like
that's-
and then they kind of stagnated, and then in about the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they just all of a sudden started reverting like hundreds of years in the past. Like within a generation, they have become what we know as Islam today. They were actually relatively enlightened and reformed.
Yeah,
like
like-
just like 100 years ago, Islam today would not even be recognizable as what it was then.
You know the
Yeah.
Iranian takeover where the fucking where they took over the dictatorship, they were promised democracy. So a lot of the people from Iran, when Iran first turned into the Islamic dictatorship it is today, they promised their citizens democracy. So a lot of the Shiite Muslims, a lot of them are just liberals. Most of them they're very liberal in comparison to say, anywhere else. And on top of that, ex-Muslims is growing. So I would disagree with that. The Muslim world is progressing. Just it's so slow. It's frustrating.
so
Like
I think the one way that we can put it is that if we put Islam's progression and a snail against each other in a race, the snail would win.
quite possibly, yeah. But you know, I mean,
Now, yeah.
Yeah,
like fuck.
that's
What was it?
it's and like Egypt and all those Muslim majority used to actually be much more progressive, like that of the rest of like that of Europe, similar to that of Europe, and then suddenly in going into like I guess the 60s, which country it was or countries, they started to go back to the very more like how they were a few hundred years ago.
Hmm.
Happened in just a generation. You look at some photos, you will see that
Look at Iran.
you will see where like women weren't wearing burqas or anything like that. They dressed very much like that as dressed in the United States, Canada, or Europe. How we dress in the West, but now they're dressing in burqas. It just happened like one generation. That's all it took.
Do you know what the leader of Turkey did? Oh yeah, by the way, the separation of I don't think Catalonia should separate because if they do, they're the economic powerhouse of fucking Spain. And if they do, the rest of Spain is going to become more poor. And on top of that, like Europe, I don't think a lot of Europeans understand that the smaller they become, especially if the EU collapses, the more vulnerable they become to foreign invasion.
Well, actually, I think the EU should collapse.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the future it might collapse. But I'm saying it's better if the if the European countries stay in big numbers, like stay in big countries, and they break away from the EU. That is in their best interest.
I see what you mean. I thought you were defending the EU there for a second.
No, actually, I can do pro-EU and anti-EU arguments, but I'm more or less anti-EU because in recent years.
The only thing I would be for what I think would benefit Europe in general is get rid of the whole economic ties in the EU pretty much, because that's not helping the countries. That's not going to convince Greece or Italy or Spain to improve their economies when they're being basically kept up by the rest of Europe. What they should do, I think personally, is just have more of like a military alliance or whatever, have something like that to protect themselves, rather than have this whole economics tie and this borders thing. Get rid of all that and just keep a sort of united kind of like a military.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing because it would be good if the EU made its economic policies rejectable, optional. and they got rid of open borders and just kept the military policies, and just keep open border policies for like scientists, because the EU does have an open flow of research in science and development. I think that would be the best option for the EU. And notice how I said open borders only for scientists, like with PhDs and shit.
Yeah, that currently remains as a few-year delay time.
But yeah,
in the
the
European Union.
EU is garbage. Anyways, Catalonia should stay together because it's just like if Texas wanted to leave the United States. That would be horrible if Texas and California left the United States.
Oh, California left. So.
Sorry, what happened? I heard Texas secession.
No, I said that's like Texas.
Fuck yeah, Texas will rise again.
Wait, is somebody here from Texas?
Yeehaw! Goddamn right.
Right. Oh, Devil, you from? Oh, Satan, you from Texas?
Hell yeah.
So you want to leave the United States?
No.
Okay.
I don't actually want to leave, but the idea gives me a fucking raging hard on.
All I'm saying is, it's better if these countries, it's better if these territories stick together and ride it out together. Because it might be good for Catalonia right now, but one day they might be on the receiving end anyway. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And on top of that too, if Catalonia breaks away from fucking Spain and they break away from the EU, they're militarily a lot more vulnerable. But that's just me thinking militarily. Like, I know there's been tensions between Greece. There's been tensions between Greece and Turkey, and not a lot of people know about that. But will Turkey ever?
There's been tensions between Turkey and every single one of their surrounding countries for the last 20 years. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, what would prevent Turkey from fucking, I don't know, doing what they did to the Armenians if Greece had no backup? Turkey would fuck the shit out of Greece.
What was that?
I don't think I have enough. Well, that was me doing it, but I don't think I have enough information on that to be able to.
Turkey's got one of the most powerful militaries in the world. It's up there with United States, Canada, like.
Germany made everything for them.
Germany.
Yes, but like, if we're going to talk about strong militaries, let's not add Canada to that list. They have a lot of machinery, but they don't know how to use most of it.
I'm just saying, in comparison to the United States, we're not, but in comparison to the rest of the world, we are most definitely a strong military. I'm saying, like, they have a strong enough military to kick the shit out of Greece.
All that I remember when it comes to a military is that if you want to invade a Western nation very easily, go to Iceland.
Why Iceland?
They don't have a military.
No, I think Iceland is backed up by Denmark, and basically I think Iceland's a part of the EU, so yeah.
They also have the backing of the British Navy and usually the U.S. too.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be able to take over Iceland any fucking time soon.
Well, not anymore. They've been taken over, what, like 15, 20 times in the last 2 centuries?
Just imagine if some...
it's not going to happen anymore.
Imagine that fucking socialist son of a bitch from South Africa tried to fucking take over Iceland.
What, Mugabe?
I don't remember that name. I don't remember the name. That fucking Jack, the racist asshole who was singing about white people dropping like flies.
That's Mugabe.
Yeah, the guy's a son of a bitch. Kill him. I don't say that about most politicians. He's a racist son of a bitch. A lot of people call Trump like Mugabe is the racist that everyone thinks Trump is. Trump.
Yeah.
Honestly, okay, you guys might hate me for this. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was prejudiced, but he's not nowhere near as bad as Mugabe. Mugabe is literally what everyone thinks Trump is.
Just to quickly check prejudice. Perhaps he is prejudiced, but I don't think he's all that much. He would have more prejudice towards just illegal. Because if you look at his past, he's done quite a bit to like help blacks. Despite
Trump's trying to come a long way from where his daddy raised him. I know, but the reason why I say that is because I can't really defend Trump after the pardoning of the sheriff, the one that was using.
I will say I don't like what he did with that. Personally, I don't think any president.
But look, I'm not saying Trump is the most racist motherfucker. I'm saying that I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was. I can't defend him anymore. But Mugabe is literally what everyone thinks Trump is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Anyways.
By the way, where you are, I hear a bunch of blowing or something.
I cannot hear you.
Not you, Z Commander. Unpopular.
Oh.
Wait, you hear me breathing?
No, I hear wind, like some kind of wind or something.
You still hear it?
No, not anymore, but I was like hearing it for quite a bit.
Oh shit, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know that was me. It was actually far enough from my face. I didn't think I'd be able to pick it up. Fuck you guys.
I was breathing into my mic. Sorry.
I fixed the problem. All you had to do was say shit, okay? Fuck you. Problem solved.
I like making people feel terrible.
Of course you are. You're Satan.
Like, honestly, it doesn't even make me feel good. It just brings me, like, slight satisfaction to know that other people feel awful. Like, it's not even, like, a good feeling. It's just like a, all right, I'm good for the next, like, minute and a half. Because their life is destroyed for the next 20 years. But I'm not a good person.
By the way, the blowing is happening again. Unpopular.
Whatever, I'm a nihilist. I don't give a shit. Bit nihilist.
Anyways, over here in Germany, I don't know. The dumb thing about this whole thing with the AfD being called unconstitutional for claiming that Islam is a political thing and not a religious thing, it's because the open borders policy goes against the Constitution, and Merkel's laws that she made on hate speech for the past 2 years are also unconstitutional, as they violate German free speech laws, as limited as they are. So, in simple terms, they claim to a party which, for the first time it's gone into parliament, hasn't been able to do anything unconstitutional as of yet. But everyone else has a little track record of committing something that's unconstitutional.
Politics is fucking just a shit show anyways.
Like, the thing is, like, no matter which decade it is you're talking about, in throughout the course of history, there has never been a situation where it has not been the choice of which is the least bad. Like, I phrase it that way because whenever you say the lesser of two evils, like, people always have there's never a good option. It is always, well, which of these is least bad for me?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, all I can say is make Canada great again, 2019.
Like,
okay. At least when I say this, like, there's no political motive around this. I'm just asking a serious question. When was Canada great?
I don't know. When was your country great? You're basically third world.
After World War I.
Every year. Like, back-to-back World War champs, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Well, you could say that our country is great in the sense of our economy is still currently the largest.
We're still one of the largest. Both Canada and America are still economic powerhouses compared to a lot of the world.
Now, China probably will eventually beat us. I mean, it depends. Who knows? Unless their child population crisis because of the fact that they have work.
If China was a democracy, they'd already be beating you.
Oh yeah, they probably would be. Although I'm assuming that I would have figured though that their population I would figure is probably soon in the next couple, I don't know, decades.
And to answer your question, by the way, Canada was great back in like the 90s and the 80s, from what I hear.
Who?
Like, Canada was great back in the 90s and the 80s. Like, I've talked to a lot of old timers. Back in the 90s and 80s, you didn't even have to hand in a resume. You could just go up to like a dollar store and just ask for a job. Nowadays, you go to a dollar store, they have like a pile of resumes.
Huh. Well, anyways, like back I guess, to the whole China thing, like how what was it? I think it was like there's one woman to every like 7 men in China now. Like they have vastly more men because since they kill all their girls when they're born or before.
That is some gay ass fucking shit, man.
But yeah, like I would assume though their
You
population.
know what's funny about that is they'll get rid of all of their they'll abort their girls. They don't like wait till they have them and then kill them. What they do is they abort them. But you know why they do that?
Because they have a 2-child policy.
They got rid of the 2-child policy, yo.
Oh yeah. But they want boys because women are not legally responsible to take care of their parents in their old age.
Yeah.
Men have to, and if they don't, they are jailed.
Yeah, I know there was something to that effect that that women cost money for the families. Maybe that's just that for China. But anyways, I figured that they're probably going to start dropping at some point because since they have so many more men than they do women, I would figure that their population will start dropping.
I think they already dropped that shit.
Have they dropped the 2-child policy, you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. And besides, China's population is declining, I think. Well, birth rate. Like all around the world, people are having less kids. Third world countries are developing. From India to Zimbabwe to Botswana to fucking just all around the world, China, people are having less kids.
You know what? They were overpopulated, which technically the Earth is overpopulated. However, when people make the argument that, oh, the West should have fewer kids, no, that's a bad idea because the West.
Yeah.
The West needs more fucking.
About whether,
the West needs more fucking kids.
Yes, the West. I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about the West in the sense that the culture, our culture is technically, I would superior to that of most of the other cultures, and the fact that basically the West is dying, really, in a sense, currently.
I think it's over-exaggerated. I disagree with that.
Well, I'm not saying culture is, the birth rates are declining. Europe there's very few countries in Europe that have either a stable or a growing birth rate within their Western culture.
Yeah, well, like, a lot of people are worrying that, like, the fucking Muslims are going to take them over. Well, the Muslim population is probably going to sustain itself because a lot of people leave Islam. A lot. It's the fastest growing ex-religion in the world, too.
Yeah, but at the same time,
I was watching an ex-Muslim YouTuber. I can't remember if I unsubscribed him because he stopped uploading a year ago, but I'm just saying a lot of people will leave the religion and will join the mainstream as well, eventually, over enough time.
Perhaps, but I think it's a bit more difficult because Europe is having such a large flow of Muslim immigrants, and that will create a sort of how we talked about earlier, the sort of tribalism.
I would say sub-identity, because it's not only a subculture, but it's also a sub-identity.
Yeah. And that's because, if I recall, Muslims, unlike compared to other immigrants, they don't integrate with culture that the countries they go to. They don't integrate.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. Over here in Ansbach, I will find straight up, maybe not exactly Muslims, but Africans who have no idea what Germany is.
Yeah, because if you look, even like what's actually interesting is
Well, and the thing is, it's not even just Western cultures. They don't assimilate into any culture in which they migrate to. It happened the same way whenever there was a mass influx of people to Indonesia. It took nearly 100 years for like that to I guess meld together. But the Indonesian culture and the I don't want to say Muslim, but like there was like 5 or 6 places where a whole, I don't want to say horde, a large swath of Muslims were immigrating to Indonesia, and it took for fucking ever for even cultures who were fairly fucking similar to finally mesh together, because they don't mesh well with other cultures. Period. Whether they're similar or they're vastly different, they just don't mesh well.
Actually, if you don't. Oh, sorry.
If I may bring up another interesting thing I recall, is also I recall reading is that the first generation, the parents, the Muslim parents, they're actually found to be the least radical compared to their children, which is interesting. Their children tend to be far more radical than that of the parents, and are more likely to terror attacks and all that stuff.
Oh, hold on, can you one sec, Commander? I think you're breathing into your mic right now.
Really? Oh wait, that might actually be. Oops. Sorry.
Yeah, because I thought you guys were telling me that I was breathing in my mic. It may have been you, because like I have my mic turned away from my face, so I can't breathe into it.
Okay, I repositioned the mic. Is it?
Yeah, it's good. Okay, go on, Satan.
I was just laughing. That was all I had to say. Like, it doesn't matter which culture it is they're trying to immigrate into or to assimilate into. It always seems to clash, because they won't ever seem to budge.
Yeah, actually.
At most, it's more of a we'll go 10%, you go 90%.
I recall watching one of Lauren Southern's videos. I think she mentioned that not even just in like what you're saying, Satan, is that despite what we hear on the West, we're not obviously the only ones who are having problems with Muslims. I think she mentioned that Asia, a lot of Asian countries are also having problems with Muslims.
Yeah,
Actually, I would like to say something about this really quick. I've never had issues in my hometown area. I've only had issues once with one Muslim group, and every other Muslim group was fine. There was one Muslim group that would sexually assault girls at the swimming pool I went to. Complete fucking stereotype. Teens. And they didn't rape anybody, but they sexually assaulted girls. And
yeah, I understand. Most Muslims obviously are peaceful.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the only way to let them integrate is if they actually believe they are studying a religion. They have to literally believe that this is a religion of peace for them not to follow it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they have to be a cultural Muslim that doesn't read the Quran, that just goes to mosque, that doesn't know what the fuck they're really talking about.
Sort of like a lot how to perhaps most Christians in the United States or the West.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, cause I've been around a lot of Muslim communities in my life, and they sound like nothing in comparison to like what's going on in the Middle East.
The ones
not Middle East, Europe.
The ones like that sort of have the belief, but they're not super religious.
Well, not just that, but also a lot of them came here because they were fleeing totalitarian regimes, and they wanted democracy and sex. Like when a lot of Muslims first started coming here back in the 70s and 80s, they came to the West because they were like, okay, fuck this shit. My culture are barbarians. I'm getting out of here. And ever since the refugee crisis, the barbarians are coming with them now too.
I mean, let's face it. The 70s message is we got an authoritarian state. Let's hopefully refuge to another country for freedom. Now it's we destroyed our country. We're going to yours.
Yep.
Anyways, I just want to tell one funny story. So where I actually live is in Goa, India. And like in the just past year, there's been a huge flow of Muslims. And what I mean by that is they look like they're from Saudi Arabia. They got only desert clothing 24/7. But the funniest thing of that all was in my last school, I had a GP teacher, and GP is a global perspectives class, who is a Sunni Muslim. She didn't wear any of the clothing, she didn't do any of the praying, but she clearly had a biased view on Islam, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty much what religion is. I mean, but
Yeah, but what I mean by
did you
that
say in
is,
India? Did you say in India?
Yeah.
You've been to India?
I live in India.
Oh, I thought you said you live in Germany.
No, I currently stay in Germany for my holidays. In 4 days, I'll be leaving this country back to India.
Why do you live in India? I heard it's like a third world there.
Yeah, my parents. It is.
Why do you live where you live? I hear your place sucks.
I actually got a reason.
What is the
What
reason?
the fuck kind of question is that, man?
I don't know. Maybe
It's a
because,
valid
like, do you have
question
a
in my
job
view.
lined up? Do you have a job lined up? Do you have a business lined up? I'm not saying there's
I
any
know,
good reasons for living there.
In India, foreigners are not allowed to have a business or start a business or even get a job.
Yeah, but yeah, they come over to they come over to Canada and they sure like to only hire people that are Indian.
Yeah, except you're gonna smell a lot of curry and shit. I'm talking from experience.
So then why do you choose to live in India? Just wondering.
So no, I've lived in India all my life. I mean, I was born in Italy. My parents had moved to India because they were hippies.
That sounds like a pretty. Did you like India more, or do you like Germany more?
I had no choice. I mean, the first time I came to India was when I was 2 weeks old. Doesn't really sound like I had a choice.
Like, I hate to interrupt, but I do got to head out. This sounds like a really fun conversation that's probably gonna like devolve into racism really soon, and I'm sad to be leaving right now. But I do got to head out.
Okay, I'll just quickly point out one thing. India is extremely racist.
Yeah, I already know that.
Like,
I've looked. There was a hold on. There was an international study where they asked everyone if they cared about the ethnicity of their next door neighbor. Pakistan was 6%. 6% cared. I think it was like an overwhelming 50 or 55% of people cared in India.
Mm.
Islamic Pakistan was less racist than India. That's hilarious. Like fuck
Yeah,
that.
because they know who their neighbors are.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, if you wanted to move to India or Pakistan, which one would you most probably go for? Would you go for at least a corrupted democratic country? Or would you go for an Islamic country where her neighbor could potentially behead you?
So, what is your views on India? Just wondering.
It's terrible, it's going to burn, and there's shit everywhere.
Are you trying to get out of India?
Yes, hopefully I will be moving into Germany by June next year.
Hopefully you stay there, man.
Yeah, I mean, India, especially the Goa area where I stay, in the past year there have been so many new Muslims over there, it's becoming scary because these people are violent to everyone immediately.
Yeah, in India they have a huge prejudice against Muslims, and the reason being is because the largest genocide in history was pretty much, I think it was the war between when the Islam started expanding into India. I think they killed about 10 or 20 million Hindus or something.
Well,
Yeah.
considering that the Quran does say for them to kill Hindus instead of taxing them.
Yeah, if I recall, Hindus despise Muslims. Quite frankly, it seems about every religion is starting to hate Muslims. Because what's interesting is you'll even find Buddhists now dissing on Islam, which is pretty funny because Buddhists tend to be the most peaceful.
No, yeah, they are peaceful, but I can tell you that somehow the Muslims have found a way to put firearms into the hands of a Buddhist monk.
You know what? Fuck it. Islam is the only fucking religion on earth that makes
It's
some
what?
peaceful Buddhists go fucking kung fu and terrorists.
Yeah,
Like,
but
there's no one. Like, when was the last time you heard about Buddhists trying to kill the Christians because they're afraid that the Christians are going to form a Christian state? You don't hear that shit.
Yeah, I just found it like interesting when I was like, anytime I heard about Buddhists or like a Buddhist monk say like Muslims are bad, blah blah blah, or whatever they said. And I just found it so interesting. It's like you now have Buddhists hating on your religion, Buddhists being perhaps the most peaceful people, especially a Buddhist monk, most peaceful kind of people.
You know, in China there was a war at one time, and there was a battle, and 9 Shaolin monks took out an entire fucking army. As peaceful as the Buddhists are, they've had a history of when they declare you your enemy, they stick to that. And they don't stick to it out of prejudice. They stick to it out of focus.
yeah, like if I can intervene, the thing that's currently going on in Myanmar, and I forgot what was the nation to it with the Buddhists and
Burma.
Burma is Myanmar.
Oh shit, my bad.
Like they renamed Burma to Myanmar, so but I prefer to call it Burma, so let's just call it Burma. The thing that they never show currently in the mainstream media are the mass graves of Hindus and Buddhists. Like they keep on saying, "Oh, look at the poor Muslims. We must help them," and then it's like, and the Buddhists are like, "Don't help them. They've been killing us for decades. Look at the mass graves that we have to, because they're reburying the bodies into actual graves." But it's literally this war with those Muslims and the Buddhists and Hindus in that region has been literally going on for over a decade now. No one is helping them.
How do the fucking Hindus feel towards the Buddhists in India?
I have no idea. I haven't met a Buddhist in India.
How do Hindus feel towards atheists?
I don't know either. I don't tell them that I'm an atheist because I'm kind of afraid. So I guess that should answer it.
So, mind if I ask, like, overall, your experience being around, were you mostly around Hindus or Sikhs, or both?
Both.
Which one was more prejudiced?
Both equally prejudiced. I think it's more of a country thing rather than a religious thing.
Yeah, like a lot of people think that Sikhs are these really, really friendly people. They're friendly when they come in like in a really small minority. But I can attest to this. There's been honor killings in Canada by fucking Sikhs. It's not even a joke. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually bring the fucking family members back to India, then kill them there.
Yeah, if you go to like certain other countries in the Middle East, like I think you guys are both right. It's that more of the culture, not the religion, because in like in Israel or any places that have Christians, Muslims, or Jews, they all have a similar culture, but obviously different religions. But they view things in the sense of culture very similarly. They act similar, and that you go to Israel and you are on the Passover driving through certain portions that are very, very religious in this in Judaism. They will flip your car over if you drive into their neighborhoods on a Saturday.
Anyways, the one thing that I wanted to say that was the funny thing with my teacher, you wouldn't expect her to be a Muslim unless she told you. And the other funny thing of her was that, how would I put it? Since she taught global perspectives, which was, do you know what global perspectives classes are?
I have no idea, man.
Essentially, it's it's a class to like learn how to make reports. You know, essentially similar work to like the UN or journalism. And
I'm still having a hard time understanding what you're saying because you're still robot-y. I mean, every once in a while you get a clear voice there, but it's still robot-y a lot.
sorry, I don't know what else I can do to change it. So
I'm wondering what you did to make it clear in the first place, because whatever you did right then, that was like perfect.
okay, does this sound good?
Anyways, what were you saying?
No, so global perspectives is essentially learning journalism and reporting on world issues. Yes.
Okay, I heard
So,
I heard journalism and reporting. I couldn't make out what the rest was.
in world issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the whole class.
Not that I would ever implement this, but there's a part of me that sometimes laughs on the thought of North America just making a policy. Foreigners aren't allowed to own businesses. Not that I'd ever seriously fucking do it, and I would never vote for anyone that would ever do that. But
Stupid. It's bad for a country if you want to
grow.
cancel out.
But the thing is it's just, I think like a lot of minorities think that they think that white people are the devil, and all white people are the worst thing. Like me, for being half white, I've had fucking social justice, victimhood mentality minorities tell me that, like, say to my face, like, I'm half white as if it's a bad thing. Or like they say as if they use, like, they'll say, oh, you're white, as like a, oh, you're not cool, or oh, you're just plain, or oh, you're the other. And the thing is if you go to countries like India, I just found it funny, like, India is like exactly what they think the West is. You know what I mean? It is this racist, xenophobic, prejudiced country.
I will give them.
And, you know, like African countries, like the African Christian countries, sound more progressive than India. And to me, that sounds sad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I will say this: the left is, in a sense, right that there has been a growing amount of new racism, but not the kind that they think. Not towards blacks or Hispanics or any of them, but actually towards people who are white, because there are obviously blacks and Hispanics and Asians who hate whites, but also whites hating themselves.
I would. Sorry, done. I'm so sorry.
It's probably actually. I mean, I can't say for certain, but I would figure it's actually worse within the Caucasian groups because of just because they, I think, are even more likely to say something bad about their own race than the other races. Like, there's this hate mentality.
Yeah, but the thing is honestly, I think racism this past 2 years has just been on an increase because mostly because of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sad truth. I mean, like, there's hatred towards white people, and then there's hatred that white people are finally having towards everyone for having hatred towards them.
Yeah.
And, like, there's been a regrowing and a resurgence of Nazis. I mean, worldwide. There's been a lot, like, there's this one girl on the anti-SJW group on Minds. I think I don't know, it's like an American girl or something. She has an animated drawing of like a red-haired girl with freckles, and
I think I know. I haven't seen it in her videos.
yeah, I saw one of her videos, and in it she was talking about white genocide and how they need to save the American race because too many Hispanics are coming there. I don't remember what she was saying, but she was complaining about the Hispanic illegal Mexican problem. And the hilarious thing is, fucking Mexicans are mostly white. Genetically, Mexicans are mostly white.
But yeah, if you look at Mexicans, they have definitely a lot of European blood in them. Obviously,
Yeah.
are pure native-born Mexicans who have no European blood, but a lot of the Mexicans have European blood in them.
And some of the Mexicans too, keep in mind, are pure Europeans. I think white Mexicans are the biggest minority in Mexico.
Mhm.
And the point is, what I'm trying to make is, it's just this regrowing of racial and cultural prejudices. To me, it's just retarded.
I think
Because culture wouldn't exist if it wasn't capable of changing. We just have animalistic structures.
if I may interject just a little bit, I think I will say it probably has grown some, but I don't think that portion, the white racist towards other minority groups, I don't think that has grown so much as it's just more noticeable. But I do think the hatred towards whites has grown, especially whites towards other whites. That is what I think has really more so grown over the last decade, over these past few years, or just even these 5 years.
Yeah, fucking white hate, white guilt is more socially acceptable.
Yes.
I mean, like, I call history class in Canada, I call it white guilt class. Because they teach you everything bad about fucking white countries. So the whole point of the course is to feel bad for being white, but they don't tell you how fucked up the other countries are. They don't tell you how fucked up Uganda is in killing gays. They don't tell you how fucked up, Saudi Arabia is. They don't tell you how fucked up India is. They don't tell you how fucked up the Turkey is. Like, if you compare the histories of the Western nations to every other nation, the West looks better because the West is the best.
Well, the West was like one of the first civilizations to act more, I guess you could say, civilize itself. Now, whether I would have figured Christianity had some effect to it, obviously atheists will say that it had no, but I don't think they can deny Christianity had no effect on that. I think Christianity had some effect.
No. I'm an atheist, but straight up, the West is a Christian culture.
But yes. Christianity has influenced a lot. Obviously, there's secularism has helped a lot too, but I don't think that secularism would have formed without Christianity in it first.
Actually, I would disagree with that. Hold on. Shinto, Japan, Buddhism, they're secular countries.
Yes, but they're secular countries. However, they did not develop the same way the West. The only reason why Japan is so much better now is because, basically we, in a sense, conquered them for a short amount of time after World War II.
Yeah, we made them less tribally. We made them less tribally barbaric.
Yeah, because before that, they're still racist if you look at it, but they were much more so during before that.
I think. Oh, sorry.
They were very tribalistic. They even hated just any other Asian groups, like anyone who wasn't Japanese. It didn't matter whether you were Korean, Chinese. They hated everyone. If you weren't Japanese, they hated you.
There's these two YouTubers I watch. They're like, they sit on the couch and they talk. These two black guys, one of them's straight daddy, and I don't know what the other one is. They're from America, and they're like, you're either fucking Chinese, you're either Japanese, you're either Korean, or you're all Gaishin. You're all foreigners. And the thing is about Japan is people, I think, are more subtle about the racism. Like, one time he was in a restaurant, and somebody was like, why is there this foreigner here? And all suddenly he just started speaking Japanese, saying, why are you saying this about me? And he's like saying, then he started saying, well, how would you feel if you went to America? And I said, why is there this Japanese person here? Why is there this And then she got all embarrassed and just left.
Well, yeah, I think, I would agree that, although that's more of I would say that I would agree that there's probably a more sort of closeted racism.
I think what it comes down to is it's a xenophobic racism. Like, it's not a matter of I hate you just because you're black. It's a matter of you're not Japanese.
Yeah, I would.
I think another thing is the kids are becoming way less racist. But at the same time, I think what it comes down to is Japan's more silent about the racism, they're not going to say to your face, "I hate you for being
Well,
black,"
they've
or
been
"I hate you for
isolated
being
on the island for a long time.
what."
They've
What'd
been
you say?
isolated on the island for a long time.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, most people are okay with you being black or white. It's just some people will not say it to your face. Well, in America, you know, in Canada, people might be more upfront about their racism. Because like I've watched a lot of YouTubers from Japan, and most of them claim that they've had less racism in Japan from America. But there's plenty of people that have told like there's plenty of racist. There's been restaurants that refuse to serve white and black people. It's
Kind of
not.
ironic considering that where I stay back in India, Goa, the best restaurant over there is either a Chinese restaurant or a Japanese restaurant.
Yeah, well, you know, just some people are just retarded. You know, I mean, the thing is, if you look at Japan, their crime rate is for foreigners is 2%. Foreigners create 2% of crime, but they make up 5% of the population.
Is that
Legal immigration with good filtering is a lot less criminal.
Yep.
And they get blamed a lot for being overly criminal by some media, by some by some right-wing media stations. And you know, even though the progressives in that country tend to, I guess, probably some of the more moderate, honest media stations tend to be more honest about it. Like there's this there's still Nazis in Japan. There was a fucking Nazi protest like 2 years ago. Antifa's in Japan. Black Lives Matters in Japan.
Black Lives Matter? And
I'm not even fucking joking. With all a bunch of Japanese people. And the reason why Black Lives Matter in Japan is because Japanese people tend to be more racist than black people.
Can I ask one question?
What's up, man?
Do the Japanese Black Lives Matter by any chance put on blackface? Because that would make it hilarious.
No, but that would. No, most.
I'm not unaware.
No, like fuck, I can't remember what was it called. Yeah, there's there's fucking a few Japanese YouTubers I follow. A lot of Japanese people don't even know the history of blackface. They have no idea what that means. They just think it's funny.
Well,
And you know what? Maybe that's better. Maybe it's better that way, anyways.
well, to be honest, there's, I mean,
Yeah, but if they're not doing it out of racial prejudice, maybe it's better that they just don't know what it means.
Oh wait, does anyone know what happened in Thailand like a few years ago? That was hilarious, and it's still going on now.
What's going on,
I did
man?
with the black guy being washed in a washing machine or something.
Oh no, that was in Japan. That was a Japanese commercial.
Was that a Chinese?
No, it's Japanese, bro.
Okay, I don't know about this commercial, but what happened in Thailand a few years ago was that in a specific town, Nazi fashion became very popular again. And so they have this one yearly parade in the town where they literally vote for now a new Adolf Hitler for the parade, and the whole thing looks like a Nazi parade from the 1930s, only filled with Asians and smiling the whole time.
Oh yeah. I think Thailand doesn't know that much about fucking Adolf Hitler. They just think
They literally had almost no interaction during World War II, except maybe a little bit of a conflict at the border, but nothing really.
yeah, so they have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
Well,
And that's what I feel like. And that's what I feel like Europe actually needs.
well, if you also look, Japan's actually kind of ignored their atrocities because they don't really teach World War II in their schools.
Wait, are you saying are you saying Europe needs a resurgence of Nazis?
No, I say Europe needs to let go of the fact that the swastika was part of the Nazis. It's like literally. It's like.
I'm sorry. I've been really anxious lately with the rise of the alt-right. Whenever they find out I'm black, they always start saying shit like. They always start subtly saying shit like that. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Well, not all of them. Some of them. I'm friends with some of the alt-right people, but I'm so sorry.
I don't know, how would I put this? I like to collect World War II memorabilia, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's cool, whatever, man. It's cool, whatever, man.
And it's just the whole thing that they keep on increasing the stigma because it's World War II. Like, one thing that scares me is that my hobby is RC tanks. You know, not the 1/6 scale, the 1/16 scale. So they're big, but not so big. And the thing that scares me about them is that my big interest is because the most popular era for tanks was World War II. Every month now, mostly in Germany, there's different petitions to ban models of World War II because it's too offensive.
Oh, it's offensive.
Yeah, and it's just my point. It's just like, you know what? Remove the swastika laws. Remove the thing that requires you to say that the Holocaust happened, because this is how people start to question whether it happened or not. It's just that you get nothing out of banning all this stuff. You just get more people to want it. I mean, in Germany, ironically enough, as discouraged World War II stuff is over here, Germany is still the biggest consumer of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, if I go to any video store and go to the TV section, I will at least find 20 swastikas up over there for different documentaries. And yes, despite the fact that the swastika is banned in Germany, it is legal for a film to portray it because the film is an art format, but not video games. You know, and you can ignore that thing.
Yeah, doesn't Germany have very strict laws in certain things which you can say about World War II or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You cannot deny that the Holocaust. You cannot say that the Holocaust never happened, or you'll get a huge fine. Honestly, the dumbest thing possible is the Z-Kyle thing, to raise the arm. In Germany, it's illegal, as stupid as that sounds for me, because, let's face it, with all the monuments that we have over here still from the Third Reich, everyone wants to make a photo like that.
Well, yeah, what I heard one time is in Germany there's I think there was supposed to be two Asian Chinese men who were arrested because they made a
Yeah, they did that, and this is where the law goes completely insane. So in Germany, it's illegal to portray it in public or even in private. And if you're caught doing it, and only if the court finds it ironically. So the court has to find what you did with the Z-Kyle ironically, as if you used it in an ironic manner. And if they don't find it that you used it in an ironic manner, which means you used it because you're a Nazi, you will suffer a fixed sentence of 3 years in prison with a fine that can go up to 15,000 euros.
I wonder what would happen if a Muslim did the Z-Kyle sign, if they would...
Oh, they get nothing. There was a protest 2 years ago, I think, in Berlin, where they were praising Hitler's Z-Kyle and claiming to stop the real Holocaust, kill all the Jews. They did this even passing in front of the Holocaust Memorial. Nothing.
Yeah, I figured something like that would happen. That sounds like something would happen in Germany. Like if you're Muslim, you're basically at the top of the food chain, like the SJWs.
I think how Christianity has helped with Western values is the philosophy that good or God is equal amongst men that choose it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think another good thing from Christianity is to basically forgive your neighbor and to love thy neighbor is pretty much in every religion, but to forgive, to show mercy, which Crowder touched on, which I felt was interesting how he said it. The forgiving your neighbor, it's a very rare thing in religions. There's not really many religions that say forgive the person who committed something, an atrocity.
With all due, I really hate Crowder. With all due respect.
Mm-hmm. But
he
anyway,
literally fucking beat the shit out of an old dude. And okay, here's the thing. Worst came to worst, the old dude maybe Crowder stepped aside and pushed him down, but it looked like with the whole footage, it looked like Crowder pushed down an old dude, and the old dude got back up, punched Crowder, then Crowder started punching him. And Crowder tried to sue him and shit.
I haven't seen.
And Crowder was threatening him on TV that if he does not come, he will drop the charges if he gets in the ring and fights him.
Well, I haven't seen that, but I'll. You can send me a link to it sometime later, and I'll check it out. I'm interested to see about that.
Wait, was it part of this chain where he was undercover in Antifa?
The amazing, plus that his videos on homosexuals also kind of ticked me off because the facts that he had were wrong with the AIDS crisis. But yeah, anyways, the video is from the Amazing Atheist, and that was an old fucking video.
Anyways, back to what I was saying about the whole Christian thing. As we've talked about earlier, with Christianity bringing, I believe, of what it made the West. Because if you look previously, the West was quite different before it had Christianity. Obviously, it was still barbaric even when it had Christianity, but it started to reduce. Because if you look back before that, the pagan religions were very barbaric compared to Christianity. Like especially like the early German pagans, they were very violent to the Romans and other groups.
Yeah, that's okay. Honestly, I don't believe that because I've actually researched about it. I haven't really found a whole lot about them being barbaric. In fact, they weren't even called barbarians, but they called them barbarians because of the way their language sounded.
I'm not saying that they were barbarians.
And a lot of other. Oh, sorry. Continue.
What I'm trying to say is they were more violent. They were more prone to violence. Is what I'm trying to say. Because
No, it could have been. I don't know.
I'm not saying whether anything like their DNA or anything like that. I'm just saying their culture.
I know. I would never assume you're saying their DNA, but I'm saying Christianity has tried to slander a lot of religions as more barbaric. And let's get one thing straight: the Vikings were fucking barbaric as fuck.
Yeah, the Vikings were terrible people.
But I wouldn't say that. The Visigoths before that were I don't know. From what I've read, and from what I've looked at, they seem like they were quite coercive amongst one another.
Mhm.
I mean, the reason why the Visigoths rose up against Rome was because they were used as cannon fodder for military projects.
I think
They were fucking pissed, and when they were accepted in as refugees, a lot of them had to force their children to slavery just to get dog meat. So there was a lot of resentment. One of the final steps towards Rome falling was extreme mistreatment of a minority and demonization. Oh, that's what was the last straw. They just had enough. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Like, well, at what point were they more prone to violence towards Romans? Because they rose up multiple times, but that's because they had no choice to some extent. Survival used to be more barbaric, so.
true.
But I'm asking you, where did you read this, or how did you find this out?
I probably would have to research it a bit more, but I only remember hearing it. But anyway,
If you got information, I'm willing to look at it. It's just because I don't know what their society was like.
Some documentary. Anyways, what I think it is with Christianity is it brought a sense of, I guess, cohesion for Europe, and that was probably another thing which helped not even just the religion itself, but also the fact that Europe was brought under one religion. That I think helped the movement. With Rome, if Rome didn't form, I don't think Europe would be anything like it is or have been.
Yeah, fucking, what was it? I think, what was it? Fucking,
But-
Roman Empire. What's the one? Was it Byzantines? No. Oh fuck. Yeah, Christianity has had a history of being collective, and see that's why the Nordic religions essentially died out. Is because it was too much about the individual, and the issue with anything that's too much about the individual is that you cannot have a collective organization that you can rely on. We have a collective and an individual nature, both of which need to be recognized. You know.
But also with those religions, they didn't have much of a. Christianity gave a sort of a sense of, at least, some obvious rules that you should have in a society. Let's just go with the 10 Commandments. For an example, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, all those, and also what's interesting is the one thou shalt honor your mother and your father. Basically, all those which come from Christianity and Judaism, they created, I guess, a sense of certain like certain rules, while the other religions with Zeus and Pluto and all those, they didn't, if I recall, they didn't have much of a moral system. Unlike Christianity, it has more of a moral system. I think that's also what helped push the West.
No, I disagree with that. Like, they have their own sense of morality, their own sense of fucking right and wrong.
But
They didn't have as strict rules as Christianity did, though. It was more or less they had principles. They didn't have the same. They didn't have the same rules, but they did have some sense of moral. So, yo. Hello.
Seriously, what happened?
Y'all a bunch of cunts.
Well, that's the first time I've ever had a cookie tell me that.
I'm a cracker, you fucking puss.
Well, I think that's enough about religion. I think we can end with some fun, interesting articles that I have here. You guys are interested?
No, why not?
Okay, let's see. Maybe not this one.
Actually, you know what? I've been doing this for a while, so I think I might go. If that's all right with you.
All right, fine.
Okay, bye.
It's fun chilling with you, man. Looking forward to your next videos about hi, I think I'm real in the otter face. So see ya.
And if you're available, the next stream should be on Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
This Sunday?
Not this Sunday.
All right, I got you.
Coming up.
See you, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right.
Well. God damn it.
All right. Did you guys want to hear the article?
Yep.
All right. Let me see. The computer. Did it show up?
Yep.
All right. So let me see if I can screen share it. Darn it, am I thinking screen sharing or not? All right, can someone else screen share? I don't know what's wrong with my screen share button. It's not working. Hey, Cracker, you there?
I can try to screen share it if I know it. There we go. Shall I try?
Sure.
Okay. Is this working?
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Oh, I think I'm actually screen sharing now as well.
No.
You can end your screen share, and I'll just read it to everyone. So what's interesting is apparently some drag queen.
Just a moment. How do I cancel screen share? There we go. There.
Apparently, some drag queen said had some, I guess, racist or not racist. What was called homophobic, not saying the wrong word, transphobic comments. But anyways, let me just read the article. RuPaul's Drag Race star William. I'm a terrible at pronouncing names. Anyways, this drag person stunned fans in an online show with comments about trans people. The drag artist who appeared on the 4th season of RuPaul's Drag Race was called out by fans over comments made on her live TV show Suck Less. During one segment on the full-screen show, Wilma, fellow drag queen something, answered questions for viewers seeking help and advice. The show usually involves lighthearted jokes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's get to the meat of this. Just because you cut your tits off and take testosterone, that doesn't change your chromosome. Similar reference the murder of Tina was brutally raped and murdered in Nebraska in 1993, whose real life story in 1995. Here's the thing. He's not your boyfriend if he's not a boy, and he's not fucking you, ... Just because someone says they're a boy doesn't make them a boy. If they have had the science referring to the hormones / surgery, they're not a boy yet. Just because you cut your titties off and take testosterone, that doesn't change your chromosomes. Which, anyways, I guess it was some rude comments you said. However, I guess some people in the LGBT community are outraged at what this guy said. And quite frankly, yes, I think there are prejudice towards, you could say, towards trans people, but I don't think this person's transphobic is what they're trying to make him out to be.
I mean, what he was saying wasn't a lie. Awkward silence follows for us all.
What's going on?
Sorry, I've been having. Is my mic off? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was having trouble with my mic here for a sec. Anyway, what do you think about what he said?
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah, he's technically not wrong. My only thing is that I think the mainstream LGBT are just too hysterical over this. The fact that I don't think he was intended to. I don't think his intent was to say down to trans people, but just in the sense just to state facts that you aren't technically a boy or a girl just because you're starting to take the the hormones and the surgery, and that even if you do all those things, I don't think the person was tended to try to be prejudiced towards trans people. I think I just think, I don't know. Now I'm confusing myself. What do you think, Cracker? Cracker?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What you say?
What do you think of the article?
Hold on. I just had it. I'm sorry. I'm working on a video while I do this. Um, oh, it's just some drag queen making some transphobic comments.
Well, called public comments. Personally, I don't think they were transphobic comments, or at best you could say prejudice. Because I don't think this guy hates trans people. I think he just has more realistic views of them.
I could barely hear you. Outlaw.
Yeah, I hear you. Let me see if I can fix that.
I'm doing a video on the Las Vegas massacre, and I'm doing research for it. And there is literally everyone has a different thing of what's going on. Some say that he worked for ISIS and ISIS claimed responsibility. Others say he was just suicidal. Some people, it's just trying to find the truth is a fucking pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, if you look at it, which is the crazies like Alex Jones are going to say Muslims right away without any evidence, and then there's the left will say now we should ban all guns, and then there's the ANCAPs are saying that that it's the government.
So I think what I'm gonna do is, have you seen Ice and Wolf's video? He
No,
just,
I haven't gotten
it's pretty good. What I'm gonna do, just like, here's what the basic of what we know. Here are the sources, my opinions on the situation, and then that's the video. It's not even going to be 4 or 5 minutes long.
I want to do on it too, perhaps.
You want to do? You want to do one too?
Oh, on that topic.
You will. You want to do a collab video? I can write some bits for you.
Oh no, I'm fine. I have to figure out what I'm going to say. I always like to research a bit. Right. It's going to take me a few days. I have school and stuff.
I mean,
I just got into it.
So far, what I noticed, Stefan Paddock is the guy's name. Paddock, excuse me. He's 64 years old. He opened fire from his room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, killing 60 people and wounding another 200.
Oh, is it gonna?
There is no motive. There is he had like 12 weapons in his room, including some reports say a modded semi-automatic rifle to fire fully auto. Others say it was illegally bought. No one knows for sure. So I'm just gonna put what we know, and then I don't know, man. This is a fucking, this is a shit show.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that the FBI said that he was a Muslim convert already or something like that, but I'm not too sure.
This is an absolute shit show.
Yeah, it is. Anyways, I think I can end now. I think I'm getting burned out. Do you guys want to say?
Cannot hear you.
Man, I'm on lots of words. The dude killed over 60 people.
I mean, like, okay.
I'm absolutely disgusted, not only about the situation of how people like Hillary Clinton used it to fuel their own political agendas. That's where I'm more angry about, if anything. And people using this strategy to like fuel their own political agendas on both sides. That pisses me off.
It's always a sad time.
But and let me. I gotta bounce. I gotta get up tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this thing. Did you want to say your channel links and all that?
All right. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Hit me up at the Critical Cracker, and at Cracker
Do you have
Critical on
a-
Twitter.
You have a with me?
All right. Huh?
Do you have a with me account?
Yeah. YouTube, Twitter, all that shit.
Okay, I'll follow all of those.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to say your outro?
I don't have much of an outro.
Could I don't know, your Twitter, your minds.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's Gab Z Commander with an underscore. So there's Mines Z Commander. Okay. I'll just link all of those in the description. I got now a 1 hour and 56-minute long video to upload.
All right. And I'm Rational Outlaw. This was Rational News. The next stream will be on Sunday. That should be, let me see. Sunday, when is that?
Sunday Western time or Sunday Korean time?
It's Sunday, October 8th at 4 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Eastern time. So this is Rational. This was Rational News. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, BidMe, Minds.com, all of those stuff. And I'll see y'all later.